And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Attention, roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern time. Good morning, everybody. It looks like it's a great T-shirt day. So, hey, it's Monday morning with the Finest Unfiltered. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Pretty exciting weekend for New York City and the entire world. Knicks fans are super excited. I think this goes beyond just basketball. I think a lot of New Yorkers feel united and they feel positive. Knicks haven't won a long time, so it goes beyond just the Knicks. Madison Square Garden is iconic, right? It's a place of symbolism. It's in Manhattan, to the epicenter of the world, and so it's just beyond basketball, I think. So good morning, everyone. We're really starting to grow here. 264,000 subscribers. I want to thank everyone. Thank our friends and listeners. Thank you for the engagement. Thank the trolls, of course, too. So with that being said, it looks like mostly peaceful riots in New York City. I mean, apparently, from what I've seen from Jessica Tish, it appears to be downplayed. Only one shooting, just a small group of people acting out. Where did we hear that before? We heard that before from Eric Adams. Same thing when it came to the West End Day Parade. Downplaying. Any loss of life is ridiculous. The bottom line is New York City with the NYPD has lost all control, has no control anymore. The control is of the NYPD. It's it really is terrible. So good morning. I told you so back when. It says Eric sounds like they beat him up at the White House last night. Good morning to you. Appreciate it. With that being said, I also want to give a big shout out. I spent my weekend in New York, and big shout out to the Gunfighters Motorcycle Club out in Long Island, who threw a fundraiser in honor of Derek's name for cancer. So I want to thank them so much. It was really outstanding. Great group of guys. Met the most of the club, the president there, and all the guys in the club, fantastic, and the vice president, outstanding. Doing a fundraiser for Derek and their families that were there, just really great people, supportive. Most of the people on the job or retired from the job, fantastic people. Really shout out to them. And they have more fundraisers coming up. Actually, one of the guys is going to have a bikini car wash. They have a couple of strippers coming, and they're actually donating their time, and they're going to wash cars and motorcycles and honor raise money for cancer. So thank you to them. And with that being said, I got to tell you, I haven't been in New York in 4 years. 4 years. I got off the plane and I forgot how humid it was. I wasn't even outside the plane yet. I was sweating. It was, it was like so humid. I'm out in the dry heat right now in Nevada, and people are like, oh, it's so hot. But at least when you go in the shade, you cool down. But in New York, whoo, I tell you, it was really something. It was gross. So anyway, listen, shout out everyone. Thank you so much. And good morning, John Marlon. Let's get into it.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Hope all you gestators and non-gestators are having a great week ahead. Happy Monday morning. And yeah, I think everything was good. Knicks won 5 games. It was totally peaceful throughout all 5 games after the game. There was nothing to see. Just a few people shot, a few people peacefully stabbed, a couple of buses burned. 42nd was shut down for about a few hours. Only several people were ripped out of their cars and beaten. Spurs fans were beaten, robbed. But I think everything went according to plan. If you look at how it all worked out, I think Jessica Tish did a great job. I think Zohran Mamdani's really getting his foot in there. And I think when you look, the frozen zone was perfect. There was no crime in the frozen zone. So as long as we just take away all the shootings, the stabbings, the millions in property damage, the numerous people that were gang assaulted, the people that were stabbed, the people that were shot, you take away all that crime, New York City's at historic lows, and we're doing great. And I think we're moving directly into, time for the World Cup. They're going to play the World Cup everywhere. And I think, nobody should be concerned about anything that anybody's going to say on this podcast, because everything's perfect. Don't look at any of the videos we play, because we don't want to spread misinformation of what you're actually going to see, because the reality is crime's down. What's up, Mom?
Yo, good morning. Morning, chat. Morning, everyone. Yeah, shout out to the Knicks. They finally did it after all these decades, right? Exercised a lot of 1990s demons there, But yeah, a lot going on. I guess we should have all expected that to happen. We kept talking about it for how long, but I thought they would at least have additional resources from maybe the state troopers or somebody there. But I just gotta say though that thank God the final game was in San Antonio, not in New York. Could you imagine how many people would have been on the street if that was in MSG? So uh, so I guess we might have lucked out in that regard. But yeah, a lot to talk about this incident, and I'm good to go.
Well, I think this video speaks for itself. I don't think you even need to ask what was that night like. You watch that video and just think to yourself, we talk about the city being in a fiscal crisis right now and the burden being potentially on the taxpayer, with pensions being potentially raided, with this fiscal crisis right now that we have in New York City. And yet we have a police force that has been put in a position to stand down because of weak leadership, pandering to Zohran Mamdani. And so what is this the cost to the taxpayer? I can tell you right now, the cost to the taxpayer is a diminished quality of life. The cost of the taxpayer is funding. How much did this cost New York City, allowing people to act out like savages? How much does this cost? What is the cost in damages? How many small businesses were affected by this? So the NYPD, who is the most important agency in New York City, and I just want to say that every agency is important to the core mission of New York City, but NYPD is at the top of that hierarchy. And that goes for any municipality. The police force is extremely important because they're at the center of all those agencies to work together. It's almost like a coalition. And the NYPD is at the hierarchy. The NYPD is now being in a position to stand down. John often says, the cadence in New York is different. You don't see that rhythm of cops that you used to see. And I thought maybe John's exaggerating a little bit. So I spent a couple of days in New York City. Most of it was in Long Island with the cancer event. But I did spend some time. I took my daughter to an American Girl doll. So if anyone has a daughter, I highly recommend it. It's expensive, but it's worth it. It's an experience they'll never forget. But I was driving around. I drove to Brooklyn. I picked up my mother. I went out to Mooney Gardens. Then I drove to Manhattan. And I drove through Howard Beach. And then I went to Long Island. I said, wow, John is right. The entire time I drove around, I saw one patrol car from the 108 precinct that was parked off on the side. One. And I was at L&B Spumoni Gardens. And I can tell you this, anyone who's ever been there, it's iconic that you would see 6'2" precinct cars, 6'1", 6'0". I think that's the point where all three precincts meet at that location. And I didn't even see one. So there's no cops out there right now. This is very disappointing. It was kind of like an eerie feeling to not see that presence that we once had. What are your thoughts, John?
I think it was all properly staffed. I think that, every city should try to be like New York City. And after a game, they should let all of their residents get their frustrations out like New York City did. And shout out to Jessica Tisch, Nah, but seriously, it was honestly infuriating to watch. And I'm really annoyed that I really want to go. I'm probably going to the parade, but I really want to take my kids to the parade, and I really have serious safety concerns on taking them there. And I think they're rightfully so. I don't think it's like helicopter parenting, and I don't think that it's like unreasonable what I'm thinking, because 5 games, dude. 5 games. It was like Groundhog's Day every day. If this is everyone in the police department was ordered in for game 5, right? They preemptively deployed strategic response group, which I've been saying they need to do forever, right? Rob Lukash talked about how they need to deploy mounted, and they actually deployed mounted preemptively, right? So I'm like, all right, they'll keep the city in control tonight. Well, parts of it, like we always said, they're going to flood the city. The outer boroughs are going to be a little wild, but that you can't stop all of it, you can't stop all of it. But what we witnessed is they were really only able to contain Madison Square Garden, even with all of the manpower being called in. So what I witnessed is a diminished police force. I thought we've been saying on here for a long time that there's not the amount of cops that they're saying there are. There's definitely not 35,000 cops. After witnessing what I witnessed, I'm gonna say I don't even think there's 20,000 cops. I don't. I like when I scour through the videos, when I look at everything that happened, when I look at everything that transpired, it looks there was like about 3,500 cops in Manhattan that night. And I'm thinking that if you're calling everybody in for audio and you're post changing people, you got people doing 3 hours pre-tour, 3 hours post-tour, all the guys that are working. I'm thinking you're going to have about 10,000 cops in Manhattan alone that night. And there was nowhere near that. There was nowhere near that. And I honestly think game 5 for the victory, and again, game 5 was in San Antonio, was not in New York City, like Marlon pointed out. I think it was the worst showing that I've seen. And I'm not blaming the NYPD because I think when you watch the videos, you see the NYPD being more proactive in stopping things. They're not so quick to slap handcuffs on people. And I think honestly, it was they weren't even tactically able to do that. I don't even think they were tactically set up for mass arrest there. It did, I think they collared 60 something people that night. But when I really look and I'm sit there, it's like the NYPD is in a seriously weakened, diminished state, and I'm infuriated about it, honestly, because everything that we've been saying, that we've been told, is misinformation that we've been putting out there. I honestly think it's worse. I think it's worse than what we've been saying, and the fact of the matter is, like I think it was probably the last 2 podcasts, I've really been harping on like the details, like the setup of the details, how like people are literally getting notified the night before when they no plans, vicinity of, they don't know where they're going. When they get there, the bosses don't know where they're going. And there appears to be like there's zero direction coming from the top and there's zero leadership coming from the top. And what it really, I think, like originally I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, all right, maybe they moved new guys into operations, they took it over. But I think it's worse than that, dude. I think what you're witnessing, and I think what from all the comments I'm hearing from active guys at all levels, I really think the thing that we honed in on a lot is what we said here that you won't hear anywhere else in law enforcement is that law enforcement is controlled by liberal white women. And I think the NYPD, I've been saying for a long time, is controlled by liberal white women. I didn't think that those affluent liberal white women who have zero operational, zero administrative experience in planning details, I didn't think that they would be planning the details and putting together the deployment plans. But after watching the last 5 games, I'm going to say that absolutely whoever is planning these details is not a uniformed member of service. And it's going to be somebody with zero operational, zero administrative experience. And I could be wrong. If I'm not, and you're a uniform member and you're in fact in charge of making the plans and then notifying people and putting people down, then I would say resign because you're not good at your job. You're gonna get somebody killed. You probably already have gotten a few people killed. And cops seriously injured, and you put cops in a no-win situation. But I really don't think it's the case, dude. I really think whoever's running this department, I think the civilians are really calling the shots now. It's not just on the messaging anymore. It's not just in the messaging. I'm talking about the strategy. I'm talking about the planning. I'm talking about the deployment, because something significantly changed these past few months under Zohran Mamdani. I can't put my finger on it. I was thinking it was uniform guys, and I don't think so anymore. I think they're just a bunch of cucks, whoever's sitting at the top of operation. I think they're being told what to do by a bunch of civilians, and they're getting their tail spun around. They have them chasing their own tail, and this is the turnout you get in the NYPD. And the whole night, all I'm saying is I don't know the media spin they're going to play on this, and we already see it. The media spin is cops did a great job, crime's down, you're safe, everybody's safe, safest big city in the world. And just so you guys know, Midtown Manhattan yesterday, there was still numerous brawls. numerous brawls. So this goes beyond a Knicks victory, and you know, and like I've said there, none of those guys are really Knicks fans because this was happening during the game. Who's a Knicks fan that's not locked in on that game? Who's a Knicks fan out in the streets of New York punching people in the face? Come on. They're not Knicks fans. It's wild feral youth looking for an excuse to do property damage, and everyone's flooding into New York City because they know the NYPD is no longer the NYPD it was. Then nothing's going to happen to them. Chances are they're not going to get arrested. They're certainly not going to get beat up. They're not worried. They're not worried about it. I'm worried about it. So I honestly, I think it was a disgraceful setting, and I would love to celebrate with my kids in New York City and give them that experiences that I had when I was a kid, when we would win championships often. Not the Knicks, but Yankees, Giants. And I just think I honestly wouldn't feel that I could keep my children safe in that situation. And I could bench 315 pounds. I could probably pick most people up on the street over my head and body slam them. So I don't know. If I'm not feeling safe, I don't know who should, I mean, I'm not that single guy anymore that has no care in the world when you're protecting other people. Yeah, I'm infuriated about it. I'm enraged about it. I pay a lot of money in taxes in the city, and to watch the product that's put out there and the way it's sold to the public on how this leadership team is actually doing a great job. I think it shows everything that Mondani. I think what was proven in those 5 games is Mondani has no clue what he's doing when it comes to public safety. All of his leadership agencies have no clue, and it's absolutely disgraceful to sit there and tell people that you're safe and what a great job they did.
Yeah, well, like I've said before, I don't think Mamdani is really running anything. Yeah, I think again, he's a figurehead. Yeah, he's a figurehead, and the people who are actually running things are the academics and the liberal white women from academia, and the liberal gay guys from academia, who are the lifelong administrators, and they're running things from behind the scenes, and this is why you get a very one-sided view of this is why policy tends to be very skewed towards one side, which is like the progressive side, and I've talked about it before. We have an entire bureau of these people in the NYPD, and these were the guys who were in charge during COVID, during this pandemic. These were the guys making policy, and the other thing about these people are elitists, okay? People who are detached from the reality of the living of most people, in the city, so this is again why you get policies that are like skewed one way and seem to ignore the concerns of the regular guy on the ground, like the regular guy who was driving his taxi cab there that night and his cab was destroyed, or the regular people who park their car in the street and then they'll come back in the morning and notice that their windows are smashed and their roof is caved in now from people standing on it, or the bus operators, whose livelihood have been destroyed right here. So you see, it's people who are detached from reality, and the spin you're already getting is that it wasn't that bad, it wasn't that bad. So let's run through some numbers for that night, okay? So again, those of you just joining us, we're talking about the post Knicks victory, the celebratory riots that occurred in the vicinity of MSG and Midtown Manhattan. We have a total of 63 arrests from that night. We have 10 officers injured. One was struck by a bottle, by the way. We don't know the extent of his injury, but remember we were talking about bottles last week and how much airmail that was being thrown at cops the whole week. So we had one shooting, a 17-year-old that was shot on 43rd and Broadway. There's been lots of videos of that floating around. There's been 4 slashings, 4 slashing stabbings. 5 school buses destroyed. We have 5 NYPD vehicles destroyed, and there was other widespread vandalism that a lot of the cameras aren't capturing, but you can see graffiti, a lot of graffiti, a lot of broken windows, and a lot of other vehicles, parked vehicles that were damaged. So the city is right now painting it to be a successful picture, and you know, it- it could have been a lot worse. I'll agree there, but it's not successful because it's bad optics for the city, and a city that's already gained a bad reputation in the last few years, and it's a bad look for Times Square, which is Times Square in Midtown Manhattan, which is the heart of the tourism industry in New York City. So anyone who thinks this is successful isn't looking at the long game and isn't looking at the amount of tourism revenue that the city is going to be losing from this, and the amount of people that are now going to be looking at this and thinking, you know what, I'm going to pass on coming to New York City because I don't want to get stuck in some chaos like this.
There is no doubt about it. The scene of New York City has completely changed. I mean, as I said before, it's almost 4 years since I was back in the motherland. So I was in New York City this past weekend, and I said, wow. I looked around. I didn't see any cops. Keep in mind, I traveled from JFK. I rented a car. I drove to Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn to pick up my mother. We went to L&B Spumoni Gardens, which is in Bensonhurst, Gravesend. Then I went to Howard Beach in Queens. I went to Midtown Manhattan. And then I drove to Long Island. And I saw one recent patrol car, and that was in the 108, only because they were parked on the side of the road. I don't know what they were doing there. That was it. I didn't see, as John likes to use that reference, a cadence. I didn't see any rhythm of cars that you normally would see. You could be in any borough in New York City at any given time. You would see a car pass you, and you would see at least a rhythm of patrol. And you didn't see any of that. At least I can tell you right now, I didn't see any of it. And I had thought John maybe was exaggerating a little bit, but not at all. It's actually far worse than I expected. Now, here we have a mayor and a city council that has spent years diminishing the police department. And this is why I call Mike LaPetri, the chief of the department, a jellyfish. Because shame on you that you, and along with the rest of the NYPD leadership, including Jessica Tisch, doesn't stand up and challenge the system and say, wait a minute. Look at the position you have put us in. We have lost control. The taxpayer burden, the safety issues, the quality of life is on your hands. This is absolutely disgusting. But instead, they don't challenge the system because they want to be there to get the next star. They want to be there potentially to become a politician or a mayor for the city when I speak of Jessica Tisch. Or they want to pave the way for their offspring. Because if they truly cared, they would stand up and challenge this and say, this is not how you do police work. We have a diminished police department. Here's our numbers. We can't do the job properly. Here's what the politicians want us to do. We can't serve you properly. It's going to cost the city millions of damages. But instead, what they do is give you a spin and tell you, oh, it was relatively small. Yeah, relative to what? To a third world country? To a third world country where there's a coup? This is disgusting. This is New York City, the epicenter of the entire world, the most iconic place, the place that everyone in this world either has gone in their life or wants to go. And this is absolutely disgusting. Say, oh, it's just a small amount of violence. This is New York City, where we have tourism. You're hurting small businesses. You're hurting tourism. You're hurting the people that live there. This is absolutely disgusting. To even try to downplay it just goes back to the shameful. I think it's shameful on Jessica Tisch. I think it's shameful on Mike LaPetri that none of these police leaders stand up and say, wait a minute, enough is enough. But instead, they keep playing the game. They just keep playing the game and trying to hook people into believing that this is okay. Oh, it's just a small amount of violence. Does that look like if this is a small amount of violence, sure, if you compare it to a coup in Venezuela, if you compare this to a coup in Cambodia or something like that, or Laos. But we're talking about New York City right now. This is absolutely disgusting and shameful. And that's why I refer to Mike LaPetri as a jellyfish, because he knows how police work is supposed to be. And you're damn right, John. There's no way that someone with policing skills and history and experience is calling these shots. And if they are, honestly, shame on them.
I just don't understand the people that try to downplay this at all. So this is 42nd Street, Times Square. This is nicknamed the crossroads of the world. One of the number one tourist spots are in the world, or the number one tourist spot in the world. Certainly the number one tourist spot this year, right? Certainly with World Cup, NBA Finals. I mean, the buzz around New York City is unbelievable. And the NYPD calls in every single member of service. They have them working that day. Every single member of service. And you telling me that we couldn't stop 42nd Street from getting taken over like it's a civil war? We have a city bus being destroyed. The 3 yellow buses you see in the background, those were tour buses rented for World Cup tourists that are here for the World Cup. I mean, there are people here with their kids, with their grandparents, with their disabled, there's disabled people here. This is a really volatile situation. This is not something to be downplayed whatsoever. And I heard from a lot of people, there's no way to stop this. And if there's no way to stop this, then again, I'm going to say, you've been lied to. You've been told a serious lie. You believe it. And basically what you're saying is we have no need for the police. I brought it up last week, and I'm going to bring it up again. I'm going to bring it up again. We're spending close to $1 billion. We're going to be starting to approach $1 billion on these leaders without badges, or these civilian police forces that are there to interrupt violence. It's game 5. I mean, we watched all the violence here. We've seen a 44-year-old father in Brooklyn shot dead immediately upon the Knicks victory. Tons of violence everywhere. Spurs fans were being assaulted. Knicks fans were being assaulted. Innocent people were being assaulted. People were being ripped out of their vehicles on 42nd Street, beaten, and their vehicles were stolen. Where are the violence interrupters? Where's Mondani's Department of Community Safety? Where is this public safety that you were promised? Where is this public safety that you in the commie corridor voted for? Where is it? This is it. Because what I'm hearing from these socialists now is, one, which is insane. One is they're saying that the Knicks victory is a symbolism of how socialism works and what a great job Mondani's doing. So somehow Zohran Mondani, who definitely can't dribble a basketball, definitely can't shoot the ball beyond 3-point line, definitely can't bench 135 pounds. It was his leadership that led the Knicks to victory. And this is your city on socialism. And I'm like sitting there and I'm going, what are we doing here? And so, we're going to talk about the unions, especially a retired union president, a little later this evening. But because one of the things that really gets me is, again, we still have 3 union presidents in the NYPD that have completely said nothing about Zohran Mondani looking to take your pension money to fund programs that are going to hire more civilians to do your job, right? Unpaid, untrained civilians to supposedly do your job in an effort to abolish your department altogether and basically do away with your pension altogether. And no one's saying it. I don't see anybody mad enough about it. I don't see anybody, nobody. I honestly think we're the only people that are mad enough about it. Like, I don't think anybody realizes what's happening here. And I'm like, you want to give your pension money to Zohran Mondani so that he could fund programs like the Department of Community Safety and the violence interventions, and then we're going to leave the NYPD out there and put them in positions that it's impossible to win. You could take the best cops in the world and you put them in that position with a diminished manpower, stupid plans, you're failing. Doesn't matter. I was telling my wife, she goes, "Oh, you could take the kids." I was like, "I'm not taking." I was like, "You know how I would take the kids? I'd get a bunch of my friends from the neighborhood and we go into the city with baseball bats, and there's a bunch of us, because that's the only way I feel like that we would be safe." because there's way too many. There's hundreds and hundreds of people out there that the police department has proven that they're diminished, they're weakened, and they're not going to save you. It just is what it is. They're not. I watched a video, and I'll play it in a little bit. I watched a video of a kid in a Spurs shirt. He's in a Spurs shirt. At first they're just joking with him, playing with him. Next thing, they start punching him, ripping his shirt off, dragging him on the floor. The cops come over and they lock him up. And then I have cops sending it to me like, oh, this guy, all these cops are getting ripped online, but they saved him. I'm like, they locked up an opposing team's fan who was a victim of an assault. They didn't save him. Like, I get they're in a no-win situation. I get those situations are volatile, and you might not read it correctly. I understand that. I'm not saying that the cops should be fired or anything, but just think about the level where we're at in society, where we're going to want to accept now that you can't, during an NBA final, oppose that other city's team. You can't go into that city and walk around safe. And if you do, somehow you're inciting a riot. You're inciting a riot by wearing an opposing team shirt. Anybody ever hear of the First Amendment? Anybody? Anybody hear of the Constitution of the United States of America? I can't walk around New York City with a Spurs shirt on. And if I do and I'm assaulted, I'm getting arrested, not the guy that assaulted me. This is where we're going in society. And don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, because we're going to take a few $100 more million and we're going to hire even more violence interrupters, and we're going to hire more people for the Department of Community Safety. And where were they on Saturday night? I'll tell you, they were either out in the street, not getting locked up, because we only had a few people locked up, 60-something people. They were either out in the street causing chaos, or they were home watching the game while the NYPD that they're underfunding, understaffing, and continuing to demoralize, beat up, and weaken. While they were out there, left out there, all these grift and graft grabbers that are sitting home, they were either watching the game or they were out there against the NYPD. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I honestly think at this point, it's all fair game. They're probably, I can't see why they wouldn't take your pension, is what I'm saying. But what are you going to do? You won't even say anything about it. You know what I mean? So I'm making plans elsewhere. I'm seeing what I'm going to do post my pension, post my healthcare benefits, because I don't trust that it's going to be there for me in 10 years. I just don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend anybody going there. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't do it now, especially in the state that the job is in. In the past, there was this thinking that these things really wouldn't happen in New York, because then we wouldn't tolerate that. The job wouldn't tolerate that, right? And we have had like post victory celebrations that have been kind of rowdy. Let's look at we had the 1994 Rangers Stanley Cup victory. The streets around MSG were packed, and the behavior was similar, because there were people climbing the lampposts, there was people blocking the streets, but the NYPD controlled it. Then there is the injuries were very minimal, and I'm looking at also the 1986 World Series. Most of the injuries were confined to people who had had gotten into incidents in Shea Stadium itself. Then we have the 1970 and 1973 Knicks championships, and it's saying that there were virtually no injuries reported. Okay. So similar to what happened here, a lot of the celebrations came out of local block parties, but much of the rowdy behavior was clamped down by NYPD tactics of that time. So I think for a while, a lot of us thought that this behavior, wouldn't happen in New York, because again, the NYPD, we've been pretty adept at stopping it. And that you see a lot of this, by the way, in the West Coast, and you see it all the time. Let's go back to the courthouse that was being besieged in I think it was 21, 22 in Seattle. For days that courthouse was being besieged, and it was like, where are the local cops? Then you have things like the Chaz incident. You think this would ever happen in New York? But you have to wonder now when things like Saturday and all of last week happened, how far away are we from something like this happening here? Because it seemed to me like we were, you know, like all our tactics from the past and all our knowledge from the past wasn't being applied here. And and what happened. But yeah, it kind of sucks for New York, because not only are we importing like that kind of soccer hooligan behavior, but it seems like we've also imported West Coast radicalism into New York too. Yeah, these are all this behavior is things again that seemed very you know doesn't seem very New Yorkish from years prior. I mean, to the extent that they actually get away with it. So
Excuse me. We're headed there. What happened in Seattle and Portland during COVID, especially the Chaz zone, the Chop zone, we're headed there right now. I think the only reason that the NYPD has made this far is because of just image, because people still have an image of what the NYPD was. But that image is really starting to deteriorate. People, I often say it, right? The NYPD was the go-to policing. No longer is it the same. And people are starting to see that. It's really exposed itself. So for a long time, I believe it's been holding on by image. So if you're a cop out there, please be safe, because I think that image is deteriorating right now. That image that was keeping you safe is really starting to show its skin. And unfortunately, the NYPD is no longer that police department. The police department that we were in, the original NYPD when we started in the early 2000s, this is not the same police department. This is far different. And there's a lot of cops there. In their hearts, they want to do a good job. But as John said earlier, and I agree 100%, you can have the best cops, and it's always, you can have the best people. But as Steve Jobs would say, and I read Steve Jobs' book, the system is more important than the people. So if you don't have a good system in place, you don't have a good team in place, well, then it's an epic fail, because you can have the best people, but with a failed system, it's not going to work. And I've heard some people say the same thing. Well, it's impossible to stop this. I don't agree with that. I'm not going to accept that. If you have the pieces in place and you have the right system, the right tactics, you may have a couple of idiots act out, but if the plan is in place, they'll immediately take action, and it will shut it down for future happenings on that night. But clearly, you could see the NYPD. It's a diminished police department. Look at the actions that they're taking. It's not aggressive enough because there's not enough cops. And I listen. Who knows how many cops there were? But the idea that there's 35,000 cops is a complete lie. The idea that there is 25,000 cops in this city is a complete lie. The idea that they have to deploy the entire police department, that there were no RDOs, means that there was no regular days off, that everyone was working, and yet we still didn't see that presence that we should see. Shows you that this is a complete diminished police department. I would love to know what those actual numbers are. I suspect it's less than 20,000. And the key to that right now, I believe, is the unions. Where are the union presidents? Where is the PBA, the DEA, the CEA, the LBA, and the DEA right now? Since Jessica Tisch doesn't want to give out those numbers, why don't you give us the numbers of how much membership you have, active membership, and that will give us a pretty close idea of where we're at right now. Because it's highly unlikely that anyone in the police department is serving and they're not actively paid in the union. And maybe some, but probably not a high number. So the key to this right now is the unions. The unions should stand up and say, here are our numbers. Come together, form as a coalition, and give out the manpower numbers so we actually know how many police, what's going on, what's the presence in the NYPD. Again, Jessica Tisch, Mike LaPetri, chief of department, they have not challenged the politicians in this. Absolutely shameful. Why? paving the way for offspring or about self-promotion, because Jessica Tisch clearly loves this job so much. She's a very intelligent person. She said when she became the police commissioner that everything's based on data. So give us the data. How many cops do you have right now? I would like to know, in a city of 8.5 million people, how many people are being policed per cop? How much police do we have right now? Full-duty cops that are operational in the street. Not how many cops have a gun. How many cops are full-duty, operational, that could serve in the city right now? Those are numbers we want.
Yeah, you're never getting them, dude. And so, if for those of you that are paying attention to what was up on the screen, you watched the two cops, 42nd Street's take over. There's numerous buses out there. One of the drivers was having a panic attack. EMS couldn't get to him. FD couldn't get to him. FD throughout the city was calling in for PD because their rigs were being taken over, both EMS and FD&Y trucks. Their rigs were completely, same thing was happening here. We don't have videos of that. But think about what we just showed you. Like, that bus was completely intact, but they only had 2 guys there. And they were like, hey, guys, you know, if you guys could leave. Because honestly, I don't blame them. What are you going to do? There's 2 of you. You're outnumbered by thousands of people on the street. Like, what are you doing? You know, but there were cops. There were people all over those buses. And then as the night goes on, what happens? Those 2 cops leave, right? And like, there's no and reinforcement comes in, and then it deteriorates to these buses being destroyed. And then they bring in a little bit more power and they kind of clear it for a little bit. And what ultimately happens is they wind up lighting them on fire. It's 42nd Street, people. Like, this is not acceptable. This is what you would call a failure of the New York City Police Department. I know someone in here, I think Crazy 107, said this was the brainchild of Robert O'Hare. I'm pretty sure they moved Robert O'Hare from checking White Sox to operations. And look, at the end of the day, his name is ultimately, he's ultimately guilty for putting the plans out because he is in charge of operations. But I'm telling you, I don't think it's him. I think it's coming from a higher level than him, from civilians, like Marlon said, liberal white women and gay white men. That's who it is. People who have zero operational experience in the NYPD, operational or administrative, because like when you're planning a detail, you need kind of both of those. You need operational experience as well as you need administrative planning experience around these details. How you're going to coordinate with the other agencies, your problematic blocks, what's needed at these blocks. The type of manpower, the way that you'll corral the thousands of people, where their exit strategies will be. And you're not going to know that if you weren't ever out on those streets and you didn't ever plan these events. So, and like I said, if the first 4 games didn't teach you, nothing will. So game 5 was an absolute shit show. This was the worst of the worst, I think, at this point. And so I'm not excusing O'Hare at all. I just think it's above him. I do. I think it's above him, and believe me, I think he should be gone too. I'm not saying that he shouldn't and he's not guilty. Like, if you're in charge of operations and someone tells you to do something, it's ultimately going to be your name, and you go ahead and do it, you're not a leader. You don't deserve to be a leader. I mean, it's same when I was a sergeant. If I got asked to do something, whether it was by my lieutenant, my captain, my CO, the borough chief, if it was ultimately my name, I made the call as to what my name was going to be held to. I was like, I'm not doing some dumb shit because you think I should do it. You could do it too. You're a boss. I'm not doing it. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm like, I'm really at a loss for words, dude. I am. Like, I'm in New York now, 100% going to be in the city a lot. But I'm going to avoid those times. I'm going to avoid the evenings. I'm not going to be taking the subway with my kids in the evenings. I'm not going to be, when there's a lot of crowds around, I will not be bringing my kids into that fray at all, because honestly, I don't trust it. And, Eric keeps bringing up the cadence of police, and I'm here 2 days already. I haven't seen one cop car. So, I mean, like, I'm on Staten Island. I was in Brooklyn. I mean, and I'm not far from precincts, by the way. So that's the other thing. Like, I'll see them parked at the precinct. But like patrolling the area, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. And when you call 911 now, do you feel confident that somebody's going to respond? I always did. I'll be honest with you. I always thought I never worried about all the hours and overtime I did at work. I never worried about my family because I knew that somebody would get to them quick. I knew that there were competent police out there. I knew the NYPD did their job. I was confident in that. I am no longer confident in that. And then when we look at even the EMS numbers and the response times around that and the response times around FD&Y, it's really scary, dude. It's scary to sit there and say that the financial capital of the world is just descending into chaos because our elected officials are a bunch of morons and can't put proper things in place and can't spend our money properly. And yet now they want your pension money. And all of the New York City municipal labor unions are like, yeah, what's the big deal? No big deal. It was just a little riot. So what? 5 nights of riots. No big deal, Mo. Crime's actually down, lowest levels ever. Just take away the shootings. Take away the buses being burned. Take away the people that were stabbed. Take away the gang assaults. Take away the felony assaults. And don't worry about it. I was at the White House yesterday. Ming, forget about it. I was at the White House, Mo, taking pictures with Dana White.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a comment there from Modern Samurai. Yeah, Modern Samurai says
sorry.
he says that fans flipped the car right outside of 45 and 96, so it happens all over. Well, Modern Samurai, we've had riots in neighborhoods for forever, right? That's not what I'm comparing this to. I'm comparing this to sporting events. For those of you civilians who aren't don't know New York history as well, the riots I'm specifically noting is the ones in modern times, like the Crown Heights one. Okay, these were massive events that kind of like changed New York history. That kind of changed things in New York, and we're you ask every cop who was on the job at that time, and they'll probably have a story for you about the Crown Heights riots or the Washington Heights riots, which I think were around the same time or maybe a couple of years before. But either way, they were the early 90s, right? And interestingly enough, by the way, if you haven't seen this yet, the 10-4 Tavern, a couple of months ago had Michael O'Keefe on it, and he was the detective at the heart of the Washington Heights riots. He'll tell you firsthand what actually happened there. So it's a very compelling story, and again, if you're not aware of it, you really should go back and understand New York history, and how these events shaped those times. Anyway, the point I was trying to make, Modern Samurai, is that what's different about this is that it comes from a sporting event, and the ruckus behavior in the past from these sporting events were usually clamped down by the NYPD afterwards. I think we had a better handling of these incidents afterwards, and that's why there wasn't rampant destruction and injuries in those events that I named. I think what's different here is the scale of the destruction, the optics for sure, and as I said before, the injuries that came from it. The sense that we didn't have it under control this time, which is a lot different from times prior.
So I think this is very different. I don't think we can make any comparison. Here's the thing: these riots are in the epicenter of the entire world. John, I think you said it's a crossroads of the world. There's so many different iconic names we refer to the area of Times Square, right? The economic center of the world, the epicenter of the world, where all eyes are on. The one thing about this is that the whole entire world, not just this nation, not just people in New York City, are watching, saying, wow, look what's happening in Times Square. So that's why I'm saying it's a major impact for this city. And these politicians, including Zohran Mamdani, including Eric Adams before, including former Mayor Bill de Blasio, including all these politicians in city council, have diminished the police department and diminished the entire city. It's people that are voting for these idiots that have left the city in this position right now, because tourists throughout the entire world are saying, well, I'm not going to Times Square now. the money that goes in Times Square that helps the economic wheel of New York City is not going to be there. And it's because these politicians that have diminished the police department and diminished the city for years have now created that major impact. So this is a huge problem. This is not something that happened in a local neighborhood. We're talking about Times Square. Times Square is not your local neighborhood. Times Square is everyone's neighborhood. This is a place where the entire world either has been there, wants to go there, maybe Googled it. You could be a kid in the middle of Africa somewhere, and you've never left your small town, but you have a phone and you're able to Google and see what Times Square looks like. This is the epicenter of the entire world. There's no comparison here. And for the NYPD to lose control there, that says if they can lose control where all eyes are on, then what else are they capable of? What else are they capable of? It shows you they have zero control right now. We're talking about the most iconic couple of streets in the entire world. We're not talking about just in New York City or in the nation. We're talking about the entire world. This is an epic fail, and the whole world is watching.
Yeah, shout out to the Spurs fan, by the way, because I think he fought like all in New York City, and they were all they were doing is running and punching them from behind, like little girls, and then he would turn around and they would run. So I don't know who this dude is, but I'm not a big Spurs fan, but I love Dennis Rodman. It's a great Dennis Rodman jersey, and you know what? Shout out to him for like this is the type of environment you're going into. You got to understand that this is not a civilized, sane society, you know. And like I said, like the NYPD didn't learn the first 4 times. I thought they did when I originally watched it. I'm like, okay, they're calling everyone in on their RDOs. They have SRG preemptively deployed. They have mounted preemptively deployed. They were quicker to open MAPC. MAPC is basically Mass Arrest Processing Center, where the other 4 riots that occurred after the games, they waited and waited and waited until they opened MAPC. But then even when they opened up mass arrest processing, they really weren't ready to do mass arrest and to deploy mass arrest teams and to have arrest teams. And throughout the night, you know, a lot of the cops said the scariest thing that they heard was that we don't have anybody else to send. We don't have any other mobile field forces. We don't have any other field forces. We're out of mobile field forces. And, you know, so watching it now from a civilian angle, I'm afraid. And then knowing what I know from the people that I know that were there from a law enforcement angle, I'm afraid because the cops were literally saying they felt like they were left out there with no direction, with no manpower, and they were left to like basically just watch these flames burn out. Let the time go, let them get tired and leave, basically. That's kind of what happened. And only deal with the real crazy, crazy stuff that they had to deal with, which was, you know, we had the shooting in Times Square, which I think the cops did a great job. They were able to apprehend the shooter right away. I got a little video of that I'll bring up when I get to it. There's just so many videos from that night. But I think that the level that we're at, we're just watching the media, we're watching our politicians, and we're watching other people who hold the water for all of them really downplay what's occurring and what's happening, and they're trying to get you to accept a diminished service. Now, Marlon showed you stuff from the 80s and early 90s, and he talked about a lot of riots that occurred during those times. And times that were really out of control and things burned. And again, I'm going to point to the leadership of the city at this point. He's talking about incidents that happened under Ed Koch, incidents that happened under David Dinkins. And when I talk about protest posture and when I talk about really holding the city down and having a competent response to periods of civil unrest, I'm always going to go back to those Giuliani Bloomberg years, you know, and I think for the most part, you didn't see that. And even when things popped up, they were handled. When you had those periods of civil unrest, they didn't go on for days and days and days like they did under Koch, like they did under Dinkins, like what occurred recently now under Zohar Mamdani, what was occurring under Eric Adams, and what happened in 2020 under Bill de Blasio. So it always goes back to the backbone spine of the leadership in charge of New York City and City Hall and their appointed water boys or girls in One Police Plaza, you know, and that's the one thing as much as people try to say that, like, oh, we're down on the job, we hate cops. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, this platform does more for the rank and file than any platform out there whatsoever. And name non-for-profits, name media organizations, name anything. We speak up for the rank and file, the NYPD, but we're going to point to the inept, incompetent actions of City Hall and One Police Plaza, because that's what it was. 5 games, 5 riots every night, significantly worse, and the planning just wasn't there. It just really wasn't there, and you're being told now, don't worry about it. There's nothing we could do. This is how it happens. It's just kids having a good time, just a small group of kids. Wasn't a big deal whatsoever. And meanwhile, there's hundreds of victims from that night, if not thousands, that will never get justice for what happened to them, what happened to their property. And the police department basically brushed them off because they were in no form or posture to even help them. Even just prior to setting up for that night, there was an administrative order that came down just reminding everybody to have their summonses. So if that doesn't tell you the mindset right there, oh, when people act up, we're going to give them summonses. It's like, no. You're not going to give them some. You don't have to worry. And let me tell you guys something up in One Police Plaza. And I'm speaking directly to like Ryan Marola, Delaney Kemper. I'm speaking directly to you guys. I want you to like understand this. In situations like that, it's not feasible to give a summons on the street. It's not feasible to run arrest warrants, have someone in handcuffs, search them. What would be done in situations like that is even the people that are going to be released on summonses are going to be brought back to a police facility to have their warrant checked. So the cops don't really need the summonses there. Just make sure they're at wherever the arrest processing place is so that they can hand the summons out when they take them out of handcuffs out of a cell. Because that's how you want to bring people out. Like during the Republican National Convention in 2004, very volatile time in New York City. Millions of people descended on New York City to go after the evil Republicans. And not only was MAPC open the entire time, and there was a zero tolerance for anything, and we locked up thousands and thousands of people, we also had our arrest process. And on one of the piers, I forget which pier it was, I always get the names mixed up. And one of the tactics that was used during that time to ensure that we couldn't be overwhelmed was when we lock someone up, whether we issued them a summons, a DAT, or they went through the system, they all went over to that pier, and we took our sweet-ass time releasing them so that they weren't able to go out, so we weren't just fighting the tide. Like, oh, yeah, here's your summons. Now go burn the bus. Here's your summons. Go rob that other person. No, that's not what we did there, sweeties. So, who's the other guy in charge of strategic initiatives, too? What's that guy's name? Alex whatever?
Crone?
Yeah, Alex Crone. So, yeah, Alex, I hope that you guys take notes. I hope you guys are watching the podcast. I hope you're listening and you're actually taking notes instead of writing it off. Like, hey, that guy's just got an associate's degree and I went to Harvard and they know who my daddy is. Well, I don't, and I don't care because I grew up in New York City. I'm very familiar with the history of New York City. I actually worked for the New York City Police Department as a uniformed member of service, like the rest of us on this podcast. We've been involved in these events. We supervise these events. And they look nothing like they looked the last 5 games. And that falls on your shoulders because you have absolutely no clue what you're doing. The same way that Zohran Mamdani's campaign rhetoric cannot ever meet reality and will never match reality is the same way that what you learned in college and your theories around academia and public safety and the books you read have no business and will never match reality on the streets in New York City when it comes to enforcing the law. So, yeah, you guys sucked. You failed. And, yeah, O'Hare, you suck too. Retire.
Yeah, I can't believe that that in this day and age. So, wait, do these guys actually carry summons book anymore? They still carry summons?
They were reminded to carry summonses. Yeah, they were reminded. I mean, that was important. First, we had to, before the riots kicked off, we had to remind them, you have zero arrest authority unless you're a captain or above. Right. So that was the first administrative message that came out. The message that came out for getting ready for game 5 was make sure you have your summonses with you.
Yeah.
How about make sure you have flex cuffs with you? How about make sure you're ready to take 7 bodies? How about that? Everybody here, be prepared. And if it acts up tonight, you're taking 7 arrests. That's it.
Yeah. I find it a little bit ridiculous that in this day and age of computers and all that, that we still have to carry around a damn summons book, I mean, there isn't some mechanism where you can I think the precinct should all have summons, and whoever, you bring in somebody for situations like this, you bring in whoever, you give them the precinct supply of summons, you should cut them from that. Not have to worry about carrying all this crap on you when you're in the middle of a riot, So stupid, I just can't believe that with all the computerized stuff, we still got to carry around those damn books. So ridiculous, But yeah, just to go back on them for 1 second, like what alarms me most about this incident is that you're seeing, the local riots are different. I think, when you go back and you watch those riots, I don't see a lot of kids running around doing it. I'm looking at this and I'm seeing like kids. I gotta say, this is the most diverse riot I've ever seen. You're seeing the thugs next to dweebs, next to the drunken sports guy. It's like everybody's out there, and it's not just kids from the hood, So you gotta say that nothing brings New Yorkers together like a good old riot, Look at the diversity there,
It's our
crazy.
strength. It's our strength, Marlon. It's our strength.
It's crazy, bro. Look at there are kids there who should be at home playing with their Pokemon cards, and instead they're out there tossing things at cops. I mean, that is what bothers me the most about this, because I don't think you'd have seen that years ago at all, But it's crazy.
At least
But,
it's a diverse crowd, right? That's more important, Marlon. At least we see diversity there. This is a diverse New York. We want our police department to match a diverse crowd too. That's really important.
Yeah. But you know what confuses me is I get that we don't have enough people there, but why isn't the state police there to help us? Why didn't the city try to marshal as many forces as it can?
Well, that's a shame. You just said we don't have enough people. They brought the entire police department in. According to Jessica Tisch, they have 35,000 cops.
I mean, because they had cops around MSG, but look, we saw what happened at Times Square. You could have just positioned the state troopers next to MSG and then spread the cops out. I don't get it at all. It seemed like nobody was aware of what was going to happen, even though you already had 10K people on the streets on Wednesday. You didn't figure you're gonna get at least 10K people now, or potentially more. It just baffles me.
Hey, Marlon, do you have a master's degree? No. All right. So you can't talk about this. Okay.
Yeah, that's true, Marlon. You need a master's degree from some
Harvard,
some online
Columbia,
college that nobody's ever heard of. Yeah. Most of these chiefs, I don't know how I think most of these chiefs, I don't know if they get hooked up with these certificates, because most of these guys end up getting some online degree that no one's ever heard of. Yeah. Well, listen, I just, first of all, this is a diminished police department. Don't tell us it's 35,000 cops. And again, it doesn't matter anyway. The quality has to come in the plan. And there's absolutely no plan. What is the plan there? That's why I say I don't care if the politicians are on this show. Shame on Mike LaPetra. You are the chief of department. When are you going to challenge the system and say, this is not how we do police work? Aren't you one that runs Comstat? Because there's a precinct commander that's going to have to answer for all these crimes right now. This happened in his command. So now at Comstat, what are you going to say to him? What was your plan? You know what the plan is, and you never challenged this system one time. This is absolutely ridiculous. If anyone thinks that you can't stop this, shame on you, because you don't know what the NYPD once was. There's a lot of retired guys in this chat right now, and thank you for what you guys used to do. Because during your time, this wouldn't happen. Why? Because you had good leadership. And that's what John was talking about earlier. Leadership is the most important, valuable thing that can make or break an organization. With the right leadership, you can move the cops in the right direction. And this wouldn't happen. And now, as far as summonses go, I'm a firm believer. When it comes to an incident like this is where the NYPD has to put out a statement. There will be absolutely no summonses during an event like this. If you're acting a fool, and you're part of this, you're inciting a riot. You will be removed to a precinct and you will be processed and arrested. I don't think anyone should get a summons on a night like this. I think everyone should be brought to the precinct that is inciting a problem and arrested. And that's one thing that we always did under Mayor Giuliani and also Bloomberg, and that's why the city was so strong. Someone acted up, and immediately handcuffs came out. And once those bracelets start coming out, people hear those bracelets clinging together and hear that metal, or they see those zip ties coming out, those flex cuffs, it stops a lot of problems. But when you wait and wait, look at the way the cops are walking around, even with their helmets kind of gingerly walking around. There's no fear. You have to act immediately. It's the same thing if a dog just keeps barking and barking, you realize it has no bite. It's the same thing with the police department. It's all bark right now. It has no bite. You got to put handcuffs on people. There should absolutely be no summonses. And no summonses issued at the precinct either in a mass arrest. Every one of them should be arrested, fingerprinted, and charged with inciting to a riot. Absolutely.
Yeah, Crate. I disagree with you there. The George Floyd protests were pretty diverse. However, the George Floyd riots and the looting was not diverse. Those were kids from the hood, and those were robbery guys and boosters, and those were kids from the hood. Okay, you saw that video. All right, there was everybody there. There was, you name it, the kids from the hood, the nerds, the smokers, the stoners, the drunk sports guy, the kids again who would be at home playing with Pokemon. There's something different about this one, that it's everybody, and I think it's a lot of people who would not have challenged cops like that years prior because they would be too scared of getting their ass kicked, and now they are not.
And as I said,
but dude, look at this though. Look, this is the frozen zone, right? And this was the plan. Like, just don't lose the frozen zone. And even there, I mean, look, the dude's on the street pole right outside of it. So it's like they're touting it as a success. Like, yeah, well, we didn't lose Madison Square Garden. It's like, okay, you didn't lose Madison Square Garden, but you lost the entire city.
Yeah,
you lost the entire city. Like, what are you talking about? Like, who was safe? And then the other thing that bothers me is, like, I think about all these people that planned this event, and in years past, when I could talk shit all day about NYPD chiefs, I could talk shit about John Shell, I could talk shit about Kaz Daughtry all day. I could talk shit about many people prior to them. Yeah, I could even talk shit about guys in the Giuliani era. I could go back and talk shit about them. But I'll say one thing that's significantly different about them than this is that if they planned it, guess where they were that night? They were out on the streets with those guys. The people that are planning the NYPD now, that are in charge of planning, where do you think they were? I guarantee they were out at a bar. They were at a restaurant. They were in somebody's luxury condo, and they were having drinks while their plans were being deployed. And so they didn't get to see the result of their work. They were just getting phone calls like, oh my God. Oh, and we lost it. Oh, yeah. Just let them burn it out. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. Like, this is disgraceful. Honestly, I'm sorry. It's disgraceful.
Burn it down. Are the violence interrupters okay?
Just make sure that no one uses any extrajudicial punishment, okay?
Yeah. By the way, this is the Spurs fan. They're calling him the final boss online.
That's hilarious.
Like,
I'm a fan of the dude, by the way. I like this dude.
Listen, first of all, I just want to say, hey, Modern Samurai, I gotta push back, brother. I love you, man. You're always here. Great friend to the podcast, brother. I love you, man. But I don't agree with you at all. He said that they did a good job back in the day because he said it wasn't good leadership, Eric. It was duty to act. New York City was our responsibility to keep safe and had nothing to do with the leadership. You protected your own and defended the city. I don't agree with that at all, brother. Because let me tell you, if you were a cop right now under this leadership, you couldn't do your job. You couldn't do. There are plenty of cops in that crowd that are outliers. There's a good portion of those cops who probably should have never been hired, don't meet the qualifications, part of DEI, but there's a lot of cops out there that are outliers and they have it in their heart. They want to do the job. They want to do good for their city. They feel it's their responsibility, but they can't do their job because it's weak leadership. It's failed leadership. They have no support. There's no plan. They're on their own. So I don't agree with you. I do think it's leadership. Leadership is so important. Without good leadership, you cannot do your job. And that's what we're trying to tell you is the best cops with failed leadership and a failed plan, they can't do their job. So with that, I just don't agree. I got to push back, brother.
Yeah, and this is the guy that we noted, right? He's running strategic initiatives. I've talked many times about that strategic initiatives in the past, and how I believe that's the epicenter of all the wokeism that's infiltrated NYPD. And I mean, if any of you disagree with me, go pull up some of their LinkedIn profiles, and you see they have their pronouns up there and all the stuff they're liking and talking about.
What's his background, Marlon?
Huh?
What's his background? When did he become a public safety professional?
Is he a gay white man?
Never. Yeah.
Marlon, is he a gay white man?
Yeah, he is.
So, there you go.
Would you consider him a pencil neck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So look at where he ran this unit in strategic initiatives during the scamdemic, by the way, and I have a feeling a lot of policy came out of this specific unit, which happened to disappear after the scamdemic was over. You know. But again, just a reminder that Tanya Meisenholder also came from strategic initiatives and worked with this guy. So they all know each other. They all have the same worldview. And this is where all the failed progressivism that's been trying to infiltrate the NYPD, including the 30 for 30 initiative, comes from. These are the people who want to re-engineer the job.
But Maul, what's his background prior to getting to the police department? Like, how do these people just get dropped into the police department and they're not only public safety professionals, but they're leaders without badges? Like, do you have that anywhere? Like, what did he do prior to becoming, like, all of these kids come from affluent families,
yes,
high education, higher Ivy League education. And next thing you know, they have some menial job in the NYPD and they go from that to leading the largest municipal police force in the world. You know, see, I don't know.
Wait, you tell me Jessica Tisch that her family being the 43rd richest family has something to do with her being the police commissioner, that she didn't get it totally on merit?
No, she is she's data driven, Eric.
No, she's data. That's what it is. Well, thank God Alex Crone is gay, a gay white man, because that when you're a homosexual, that helps you do policing better because it creates diversity. And I only hope that, God forbid, I call the police that I have a homosexual male respond, because that really helps. I need people with a diverse look on the world to actually help my police incident.
Yeah, and you know who else I want to see? I want to see Marola too. I want to see Marola's background. How does he become the chief of staff for the NYPD? Like what is it? Is it just great managerial skills that we give you when you get implanted into the NYPD? How doesn't somebody else get that opportunity? You know, and I applied. If you guys don't remember, I applied to be the deputy chief of staff, but I never got a call. It was weird. They never interviewed me.
You should have told him you were a gay white man. That would have helped.
I would. Yeah.
If you had to prove it, you could just, we could figure something out.
I'll just show them my eyebrows. I'll be like, come on, bro.
We gotta figure out alternate side, Marlon.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna have to start doing our homework and see. Maybe there is some type of connection. Maybe they all go to a similar school or something to do with wealth. I'm sure this connection will find a commonality once we dig it up, and we'll figure something out. I'm sure there's a commonality there.
Well, there is a commonality in all of it. They're from wealthy New York families, okay? Primarily wealthy Jewish New York families, okay?
Well, I missed the boat then, because I'm Jewish. I'm the most complaint cop. Can somebody throw it my way?
Yeah, no. Your Jewish isn't the same, Eric. Okay?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Eric, you're a peasant.
You have to be from the families that came here around a certain point, around like the early 1900s. That apparently those families have a lot of influence in the city, and they're not the same, and they don't care about Eric's plight or the Jewish neighborhoods in New York, because again, they're elite.
But wait, they do care about. Excuse me, they care about immigrants and the Black community, Marlon. I don't care what you're gonna say here. They're anti-racists, and they're allies of both of those communities. All right. They don't know anyone actually from those communities. And if they do, they'll pretend that they're their friends, but they're allies.
Well, they don't care about them either. Because again, you're not in the in club. You have to have money. They'll care about you when you have money. So okay.
You aren't watching their social medias in 2020 because they
Yeah.
all have black squares and they care. You
But
didn't.
Let me just jump back to this guy for a quick second. This is his background: Harvard Law, Columbia University. Yeah, that's a lot of money there. That's a lot of tuition money right there, Ryan. Alex, I wonder how he paid for it.
So
Right?
he gets out of law school in 2009, and only 16 years later, without any operational or administrative experience, he's running one of the largest organizations in the world. Okay.
Yeah. It's because again, these families all know each other. Okay, and they all maintain networks that allow their kids to get the jump on everybody else. These are his interests. Oh, look, there's a police foundation there. Huh. This is his job history. Oh, that's a pretty damn good job history if you start out at pretty much at one of the largest law firms in the city.
So basically, he was an intern at all of these places for a little bit, and then he just gets thrust into leadership in the NYPD.
Another promotion by Rocket Fuel.
And we're making fun of these chiefs, dude. Forget about it.
Yeah.
See, forget about it. These guys are being summer interns, and then they're running the New York City Police Department. And we're talking about uniformed chiefs. I mean,
John, you just don't
the power
understand.
of networking, right?
John, you don't understand that if you're diverse, if you're a female or a gay white man, it gives you secret powers. This diversity gives you powers and things that you just don't understand in life. We missed that boat. It's unfortunate.
Well, we're peasants. We're trash. We're just the people that they could work those hours. It's okay. They could just take their days off again. Just change their tour. Just move them around. Just send them out into the street. All right, guys. Don't and just be careful. All right, make it look good. No extrajudicial punishment, you brutes.
No extrajudicial punishment. Hey, Jason, I was trying to go for a different appearance. I don't know, Eric. You lost muscle mass. The gate aren't responding. The gate? Do you mean the gay? I don't know what you mean here, but I was going for a different look, dude. I'm getting all those trying to get shredded up. I think you meant the gay. I don't know what he said. The gates, whatever.
Yeah, and just for those of you who are gonna twist my language and try to get it twisted here, okay? I don't care who you are, okay? Just because we're the same skin folk doesn't mean we're the same kinfolk, okay? And these people, they may say nice words, but they don't care about you because you're not in their social sphere. You're not wealthy. You don't live amongst them, okay? And they don't care who you are. Even if you again, they say they care about these communities, they do not, because the policies that they promote are not beneficial to New Yorkers, no matter who you are. Okay, whether you're black, Jewish, gay, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. These people are not making policies that benefit any one of us, and that's the entire point that you need to understand about this.
Well, that goes to what I often say, right? I always say that policing is the most tangible form of government, which is why I think the elites attract themselves to the police department when the academia and the elites come to the police department. It's the most tangible form of government, and they can actually push their agendas and push the needle. What are your thoughts on that? That's why I think it, because other than that, why would these elites want to get directed towards the police department or this profession? I think it's because it's the most tangible form of government. You can actually push the needle and actually push the agenda. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. 100%. They also, I think a lot of their financial interests are tied to the police department, and in particular through the police foundation. Notice the police foundation was on this guy's LinkedIn, because it's the connection of money and money, old world wealth, and Wall Street. that are intertwined in progressivism. And progressivism, I've said it before, it's just a cover for what they really want to do. It's just progressivism is like putting a nice face on it and trying to manipulate human empathy, because humans have empathy. I mean, it's natural that when if you put something in a nice way, people will accept it more than if you tell them the blunt truth of the matter. And they manipulate us, emotionally manipulate us all the time into accepting things that really hurt us in the long term, you know.
So when you look at like New York City history, if you look at a figure like Robert Moses, prior to Robert Moses, like city government like positions, appointed positions, prior to Robert Moses, there was no like civil service exams. And that was one of the things he did, was like implement civil service exams, because he wanted city jobs to be accessible to the masses, right? He thought like isn't that who should be running the city? Isn't that who should be the cops, the firemen, the working in education, doing all that? Prior to that, the only way into city was through nepotism and cronyism. And traditionally, what you had was the children of rich, wealthy, elitist families that came out from higher education, and then they were taking the teaching jobs and all these other jobs. And the masses really didn't have access to get into those positions. And so for whatever the reason is, like maybe these people aren't fit out in business, or they just have a desire in public service is appealing to them for whatever reason. They like the publicity of it. They like the titles of it. I don't know what it is around that, or if they're looking to go more into the political sphere of things. But there's always been this attraction with the elite and wealthy of New York City to take jobs that would really rub your head. You're like, well, that you take that job and that profession won't even cover your maintenance fee. You like at the highest level you could obtain at the position that you're taking, it wouldn't even cover your maintenance fee for the year in the condo you live. So why would you take that job? And it's almost like a status symbol, I think, in my opinion. And I think I know Robert Moses gets a bad rap on a lot of things he did around the construction. I'm not here to say that it's right or it's wrong. I don't really know, but I know one of the good things he did was implement civil service exams. And I feel like today, especially when we look at the New York City Police Department, that path for poor and middle class kids to rise into leadership in the NYPD through the ranks, I feel like that's been hijacked by the elites in New York City. I mean, currently, let's just call it what it is. Jessica Tisch and her club, they are elites, and they're coming and they're taking your jobs, and they believe that they know how to provide public safety, even though they never actually, in fact, did such. But they studied it a lot. They probably read a lot of books. Maybe they read even more than I did on it. I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe they did. So I just think, you peasants, all of us peasants just need to learn our places and stop talking about them. They're doing a great job. Crime is down. Take away everything that happened those 5 nights, and the city's the safest it's ever been.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that video and I think, imagine if, like, no matter who you are walking that night, you're gonna be. I mean, I can see you getting targeted that night if you're gay walking around there. That with some of those crowds over there at night, you don't think you're gonna get targeted, or if you're Hasidic walking through those neighborhoods, it's these. I just don't get it. It's like these people again. It's like these policies don't benefit the regular New Yorkers. How many John talked about that taxi driver who was like, who was talking about his vehicle being damaged, on Wednesday night, and how that's his livelihood. These are regular people there who you know it really annoys me, it really does.
It's interesting that John brought up Robert Moses, because to me, I think that's a good it's a good conversation because Robert Moses is, I think, those conversations where power and wealth are not necessarily the same things, right? Because Robert Moses had a lot of power and influence over the city. What's interesting about Robert Moses, he wasn't particularly a wealthy person or overly wealthy. I think he was just, modestly comfortable, but he had a lot of influence and power over the city when it came to infrastructure, buildings, things that he got done that most people couldn't get authorized. And that's why we see these elites. I think they're buying. They're trying to buy their power, and they buy it through going through the police department. That's why I say the police department is a more tangible form of government. And if they want to move the needle and move their agenda, you buy power, and you get power through being in leadership in the police department. And you can make the city crumble. You can make the city move in any direction you want, because the police department is at the focal point of that. That's why I said every agency is important to the running function and the operations of New York City. But the NYPD, there's no doubt about it, is at the hierarchy of that. And nothing moves without the police department. And here's a great point, Marlon. We're looking at people here. These are not your everyday perps. These are just your average people that have gotten to the point, well, we could get away with it. We could do it. There's no healthy fear anymore of the police department. The police department has lost total control. Even your average day, just good person. I mean, listen, these aren't Knicks fans. John said it earlier. If you're legitimately a Knicks fan, you're watching the game, you're emotionally invested in the game. These people they're just taking advantage that the city has lost total control. Some I think they just love chaos, and some I just think they're just mocking it completely. So, John, you had stepped out for a second, but I wanted to bring up the fact that, bring up Robert Moses. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I think that's a good point to bring up. I think when we talk about Moses, that power and wealth are not necessarily the same thing. And I think with wealth, we see people are trying to buy their power. And again, going back to watching this video, man, it is disturbing. If anyone can say, oh, it's a small amount of violence, this is New York. And listen, not only this is not happening in Staten Island. This is not happening in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, where people may not be aware of it. This is Times Square, where if you pulled up any list in the world, what is on your bucket list for people, I'm sure Times Square is probably on most people's bucket list. I think Times Square might be the number one tourist location for anyone in the entire world. And this is now what tourism is like. If you're in Spain, if you're somewhere in this world right now and you're into the World Cup, do you want to come to New York City right now? Do you want to watch the World Cup at MetLife and take a trip over to New York City? John, I highly recommend you don't go at night with the kids, because if that kid was getting beat up with the Spurs shirt, he ended up getting arrested. Well, if people start trying to push you around, you're not going to take it, and you'll end up being arrested because you're going to defend yourself. Not only that, they'll be like, oh, there's the guy from the podcast. There's the guy from the network. Let's put him in cuffs. So highly not recommended for you.
You guys just have to do it. There'll be no DAT for me either. So, but I mean, think about these poor people that just were driving through. Like, they just made a bad mistake in driving through the city that day. Their cars were destroyed. They were robbed. They were beaten. I'm like, it's like, dude, it looks like Lord of the Flies, bro. Like, when it just devolves, right? It just devolves into like their structure of government just devolves, and they just go nuts. That's what these scenes look like to me, and it really disturbs me, dude, and it disturbs me a lot from a lot of the leftist mindset of, it's like, I had one kid, he's like, it wasn't that bad. It was just like little pockets. And it only took me 45 minutes to get back to Queens. And I was like, oh, so screw all those people that got beat up, shot and stabbed, and all those people the cars that were burned, the cops that were injured, the cop cars that were destroyed, the ambulances that were destroyed, the fire truck. Screw all that. The World Cup fans that were beat up and chased off their bus and their bus was burned. None of that matters. My commute was okay. And it was like, I don't know if you remember early on when Adams came in, he started the whole perception versus reality thing after people were getting thrown on the subways in front of the trains. And then there was a shooting in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And immediately after that shooting, all the Democrats, what they were doing was they didn't ride the train to work or anything, because, they don't actually have to do that. It's for you peasants, not for them. But what they did was they would go down into the train station and take photos about how great it was. Train's safe. I'm down in transit. Nothing's happening to me. And it's kind of like that same propaganda that's happening now. And I'm curious, like, with this Department of Mass Engagement that's going to come out now, where Mondani's spending $55 million of New York City taxpayer money, the level of propaganda, it's going to be like COVID style propaganda for everything that the city wants you to believe, whether it's true or not. So, like, if the Department of Mass Engagement was in effect right now, what you would be hearing is it's already kind of happening with Jessica Tisch as the police commissioner. What you're hearing would be is that actually crime was down. We did a great job. Thank you to all the first responders, and let's go Knicks. Like, none of this happened, and that's what is happening. That's exactly what's happening. We're getting just complete, utter propaganda coming out, and we're being told, don't believe your lying eyes. It's honestly disgraceful. So, all right, people, it's time for a message from our partners over at Kalshi. The 2026 primaries are taking shape, and you can trade the biggest political races on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade major primary election outcomes and the biggest political storylines as they happen. Will Marco Rubio win the 2028 U.S. presidential election? Right now, Rubio is currently trading at 18%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $525.39 if Rubio becomes the president in 28. On Kalshi, you're trading against your peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code FINEST to get $20 when you trade 20. KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Price, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. So I made that trade on earlier for the Knicks game, where I doubled down. I'd made a $75. I put $75 on that the Knicks would win, and they would win less than 2.5 points. So when we went up, I could have sold out at, I think, $380, but I was like, I couldn't stay watching it because literally the positions will move real quick, so I couldn't stay watching it, and I was like, I really think this is going to be a close game, and I think they'll stay on the 2-5. So I just moved the phone away, and I winded up. I was wrong. The Knicks won, but they didn't win less than 2.5. They won by 4 points. However, if Wemby would have hit that 3, I would have made like 1,300. So it was. But I didn't realize it until after, and I didn't even care. I was like, let's go, baby. Like, that was a great game. I'm glad that Marlon was wrong. I'm glad that Hassan was wrong.
Wait. I was barely wrong. Okay.
You said, oh, that was just a tip in. More than likely, we're gonna go to game 6. Blah blah blah.
And I wasn't wrong. Well, here's the thing. I was barely wrong, because do you know the average halftime score throughout the finals has been the Spurs leading by 10 points? And they happen to. Just in this case, that was the case too, but it was like they were actually leading by 16 points, and then in the final 5-6 minutes they blew that too. But the Spurs have basically, now don't get me wrong, I'm not you guys in the chat, I'm not a Knicks hater, okay? I was a massive Knicks fan in the 90s when Jordan would always kill our chances. I think we would have had at least one championship in the 90s had it not been for the Jordan and the Bulls. Okay. Now, what I'm simply saying is that the Spurs could have won this because they kept blowing. If they could have won it, if not blowing all their leads, and especially blowing that 30-point lead they had on a Wednesday night. So I lost, but I barely lost, John. So.
I love it. You guys are like, oh, second place is a winner. You either wrong or you're right. That's it. I don't know about this barely wrong or barely right.
Yeah, I almost won, but I didn't.
It's like all the people I met in my life. Like, I almost went to the military. I almost became a cop. So you actually didn't do it.
Dude, this
Well,
guy's like
just-
50 smashing this bus. Like, how old is this dude?
Yeah. Dude, there was they all took turns, different ages too. Even there was even a woman doing it too.
Yeah, and she could barely. You saw it. She could barely swing it too. She was like having trouble swinging it.
And you know what's
That's so
crazy?
stupid.
Look who's right on top of that. Yeah. Like
It looks so stupid. It's just ridiculous. But and then how could you say that the NYPD that this was? I'm sorry. How could you say that this wasn't possible on stopping this from happening? I mean, there's zero control there. There's no cops around anywhere. You see any cops in sight at all? Did they just give that block up and say, hey, listen, as long as MSG is secured, we don't care what else happens. That's a win. But just let them do whatever they want. As long as so we can put on paper that MSG was good. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just like a big show. Big dog and pony show. Zoran Mondani doing a great job. Hey, listen, the bottom line is the people voted for him. They know what they get, and they got what they wanted. So the people voted. The people vote for the police department they want. This is what they got.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I think all that education really hasn't helped our leaders without badges, because I feel like the only strategy that they know now is this all out, like this summer all out strategy, right? Where we're just gonna flood. We're just going to flood places and cordon them off. And but we don't know how to actually provide public safety in a fluid, dynamic city. Like we could just take these one little areas and make the zone, and we can make the zone safe. And I feel like that's what you saw here. So like everyone knew that there was going to be chaos regardless of what happened in game 5, right? Whether the Knicks won or lost, this is happening, right? And I agree with Marlon. I think if the Knicks were here, it would have been even worse. So it wasn't like this wasn't pre-planned. And what you see is that the planning was solely focused around the zone, right? Like it was solely focused. All right, we're just going to flood the zone. We're going to create the box. And Dolan was even like, what the hell are you guys doing? Right? Because he's not used to it either. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why are you creating this? Like, this is Times Square, but nobody's allowed in. Nobody's allowed in. You can't have watch parties. Nobody's allowed in. Like, what are you doing? And I think when I look at that deployment, that's what I see. I see like people that like you're a one-trick pony. You know what I mean? Like that's it. That's all you got. Like this is Harvard didn't do you guys justice. You know, all those Ivy Leagues, all those seminars you guys attend, all of the networking you did, all of those fancy breakfasts and lunches and dinners you went to really didn't matter. You know, sipping cognac by the fireplace, like with a book in your lap and your little shawl over your shoulders. Like it didn't matter, because when it came down to the time that you needed to be leaders without badges, you're not able to do it because you can't see past the one trick that you have. And the one trick that it looks like the NYPD currently has at the top is we're just going to create a zone. That zone's going to be safe, and everything else isn't our responsibility. But no big deal, because we have the media in our back pocket, and none of them are going to say anything other than those disgruntled peasants on the Finest Unfiltered that we were forced off the job because, you know, we can't have masculine men in the New York City Police Department because, God forbid, we had masculine men. Things like this wouldn't happen, you know?
And this is why I always say my biggest disappointment is your jellyfish chief of department, Michael Petrie. Because Michael Petrie knows exactly how leadership is supposed to work in a police department. He knows exactly what tactical plan would be effective here. And he hasn't challenged and fought back. Yet, he's still there. I don't know how he sleeps at night. He's still there crowned as the chief of department. How do you stay there? How do you allow academia and these liberal gay white men and women tell you what to do? You know exactly what's supposed to work. So shame on you. If there is blood, the blood's on your hands because you know exactly what's supposed to work for police work. You know that just presence is not enough, that you need an actual tactical plan. And this idea of, well, we'll just bring everyone on their day off and just stand around doesn't work. Obviously, people are not intimidated by this police department. They've already probed the police department enough. And that's why I say it's not just perpetrators, that you have your average good people who just, just acting a fool because they can, because they probe the police department and there's been no pushback. And people are probing little by little, like, wait a minute, the police department's not responding. Presence is not enough. Presence is a key element, but it sure is not enough. There's no one here that has a healthy fear of the police department like this. It starts out one person swinging on a sign, 2 people, 3 people standing on a stanchion. Next, you know, the police department's not responding, not taking any action. And before you know it, the crowd gets too large and to the point where it's out of control and the police department can't control it. So if you want to say the police department can't control it, sure. If you allow it to fester to get to this, that's why I often say in the rear of Mott Haven in the South Bronx, huge courtyard, we would have riots there. But how do we stop it? If there were 2 people drinking, you address it immediately. Because if you allow 2 people drinking in public, that becomes 50 and 100. And if you don't take action, well, then if someone's shot, how is the police department supposed to go in there? It's a nightmare. And this, look at this. This is small amount of violence. This looks insane. This looks like America. If we told someone right now this is Times Square, like, no way, that's the epicenter of the world. If you told some kid right now in a small town in Africa, like this is Times Square, like that's Times Square, that's insane. This is the most iconic streets in the entire world. This is what it looks like. The most iconic police department, one of the largest armies, can't control this. And so shame on people like Chief of Department Michael Petrie, Jellyfish, who knows exactly what to do, who doesn't challenge it, instead stands there and still crowns and wears that billet. You should tell them, I'm not standing with this and I'm out of here. But you have no balls and you don't care.
Yeah, LePetri is probably the most insignificant chief of department in recent times, to be honest with you. We only see that guy at like 1 or 2 conferences about crime CompStat. I guess he must spend all his day on the numbers, trying to, manipulate those numbers somehow. Yeah.
Well, he has to learn them first. I think that's like his safe place. I think that's like his safety blanket is the numbers. Like, let me just go into here. Like, he's definitely like ADD to the next level, like hyper neurotic dude. So like his only safe place is in the numbers, and that's just what he does is like he goes and he just reviews all the numbers so he could spew them out like a computer, instead of just saying I'm going to work smarter, not harder. But I mean, it would probably shield you from having to see the reality of everything. It's just like, all right, here's the numbers. We're up this. We know that this, blah, 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 and like, all right, but what are we doing? Like, okay. So I don't know. I think he's a real weird dude. I would have expected a lot better from him for being the chief of department, and I gotta say, severely, highly disappointed.
But was he even on scene on Saturday?
I know he was out on game 4. I don't have any videos of him out there on game 5, but I mean, I would think that he is out there. I would hope, unless he's at some fancy party with a shawl on, like trying to be like one of the, like I actually went to Harvard too with the.
I'm really confused. All those signs they have in Times Square, like gun-free zones, and all those signs didn't help quell the violence here. I mean, people didn't stop to read the signs.
I'm shocked too. I'm totally shocked too.
I thought those signs would work.
Yeah, it's gun-free zones. And look. In all fairness, like it's probably better that like New York City is not part of America. I mean, because like, could you blame someone if they were in their car and they were like about to be suffocated and trampled in their vehicle if they exercised their Second Amendment rights? I mean, because I wouldn't. I mean, like it's like, how do you know what the hell's happening? I mean, people were literally having panic attacks, like thinking that they were going to die. One of the bus drivers did too. And like, imagine you're an elderly person driving your vehicle in Manhattan, and the next thing you know, you're swarmed by thousands of people.
So Timmy Boudet, he couldn't quell his violence with that bullhorn. It wasn't enough. I just don't understand it. I thought Timmy Boudet had a real presence out there with that bullhorn. He seemed like he was doing a great job. Really impressive. I could see why he didn't get chief for so long.
Well, what about the Manhattan South Chief? What's his name?
He was out there. You seen him with his helmet on?
Yeah.
Oh,
looking clueless.
Yeah,
he was looking like if he was another lieutenant waiting for orders from a chief.
Yeah,
I'm like, shouldn't you be on the bullhorn? Running around giving orders.
He looks like Mondani looking for the mayor. Like, who's the mayor of the city? Who's going to answer that?
But I tell you what, not much has
McCarthy,
changed.
Juicy Beast.
The Eric Dym administration, right? It was perception management. They controlled and captured and seized the media. And with Zohran Mamdani, he just doesn't even let the media in. He's just doing press conferences without the media. So different styles, same outcome. It's still perception management. They're controlling and seizing the media in New York City. Eric Adams and Zohran Mamdani have a different style, but ultimately, I think it's the same outcome. If anyone thinks it would be a different outcome with Eric Adams here, I don't think so. I think it's the same outcome. It's just a different style.
Well, I think it's mainly Tish, you know. I don't, like I said, I don't think Mamdani's running anything. I think he's a figurehead. I think it's Dean Fullahan and some of those other people behind him who are the real brains there. But I think Tish is I think Tish is 100% manipulating the narrative because, you know, she wants to come across as this great NYPD PC. And you know, I'm hoping we'll get to it, but the cop that was arrested for the Bronx shooting, when it first hit the news, I remember we talked about that, Eric, about how like there must be something going on behind the scenes.
Oh yeah,
None of
100%.
the news outlets were really talking about it, and sure enough, it comes out that that this cop was basically running his own case off duty. And we said during that time that one of the reasons we believe it's not hitting the news is Tish is using her influence behind the scenes, and there's a lot more to this incident that would make her and the administration look bad. So they're trying to hide it from the public. But I think in this case, 100% it's Tish manipulating the media because, again, she doesn't want to seem weak and like an ineffective PC.
Well, it's no doubt. I mean, Marlon, you're spot on, right? Not only has she tried to control the media, we watched her seize the media. We watched the media ask questions that she just blatantly didn't even say, I'm not going to answer that or try to evade the question. She literally just walked away. We've watched her control the temperature with city council. So she has extreme amount of power. So that's why I was saying before, Robert Moses, I don't think power and wealth is not necessarily the same thing. But when it comes to Jessica Tisch, she has both. That's what makes her even more, in my opinion, dangerous. And she has extreme amount of wealth. But with that wealth, her family has extreme amount of power. Crazy 10-7 earlier said that Robin Moses came from a wealthy family. I understand what you're saying, not in comparison to what these billionaire developers are in the Jessica Tisch family. Not in that sense. Not relative at all. But with Jessica Tisch, she has wealth and power. And as I said before, the media seized, and we've seen how she controls the temperature at city council. I mean, there should be a lot of pushback. City council, we haven't heard anything about those numbers of manpower. She claims to be data-driven. Her whole campaign is being data-driven, and yet they still have not been given the data for the rosters in each precinct in the city. And why are we not getting any pushback? Because she has the power.
Yeah, I think Moses was an eccentric guy, so they kind of paint him that like he didn't come from money, but he did come from a very wealthy family too. Like he did. He was just a weirdo. He wore the same cheap suits. He didn't live in like a really nice place. So they say that he wasn't really rich. I mean, because him personally didn't deal with a lot of wealth, but he was part of the power structure, like his family, and then he took it over. He was just real eccentric. So he's like a weird dude. And I do think like again, I don't know like his stances on I just haven't did that much research into him. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that he was like a racist, and a lot of the structure that he put out there was based in like systemic racism. And I don't know that to be true or to be false.
He was a villain.
I mean, you know, every villain's a hero to somebody, and so like
that's true.
I don't know enough about him to like, I know the buzz about him, but I won't make that judgment call myself on him because I just don't know. But the fact that he was like pushing for these civil service exams tells me that he really was trying to help people. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to like get city service to not just be a political patronage job or a position of wealth, because why would you want to open it up to us peasants? So I don't know, I don't know, but this is what Tish puts out and you see who retweeted her, Delaney Kempner. Delaney Kempner is the Deputy Commissioner of Public Information today. And, I don't know, Delaney, were you in charge of making operations and plans and notifying people? We don't know. Let us know.
Who's in charge of it?
Yeah, as New York City celebrated a Knicks championship last night, the men and women of the NYPD were working across all 5 boroughs to keep people safe. That included dealing with a relatively small number of people who used celebration as an excuse to turn to violence. Many cops worked long, grueling tours. Many came in on their days off and went straight from a long night into Puerto Rican Day Parade and FIFA watch parties this morning. To every cop who put themselves at risk to ensure others could celebrate safely, thank you for your noble service. This city is grateful. So, it was just a small number of people just mostly peacefully rioting.
Yeah. Tell that to the guy who lost his cab. Yeah. Or the bus drivers who lost that bus, Again, it kind of dismisses the concerns of regular people, who might have gotten caught up in the mix as they were trying to drive through. Right? Or also those businesses that were boarding up their windows in fear that their windows would have gotten smashed in or vandalized. So
Here's something to talk about also. Now, she said it was relatively small. First of all, what is relatively small? But in hindsight, maybe it actually is relatively small, because how many crimes were actually documented? How many crimes or how many felony crimes were actually documented at this incident? And if they weren't recorded, it was relatively small, because, hey, your eyes are playing tricks on you. What you saw was the conglomerate of people, but we don't have many recorded crimes. That's why I said I want to know what comes up at Comstat. Is there a commander that's going to have to answer for those crimes that happened yesterday, or that happened during these riots? That's what I want to know.
I don't think throughout all 5 nights of those riots that there was proper documentation of any of the crimes that were committed. And I think even some victims were definitely turned away, and you didn't get any of this. And then this is just a sign of things to come. So Chris Sommerfeld, he used to work for the Daily News. He works for Politico now. He dropped this morning. New Mondani's administration plans to air World Cup matches on 200 Link NYC kiosks for free across the city. But safety concerns is prompting the mayor's team to not publicize the location of the streams per an internal email I obtained. So what does that tell you? They don't want any people gathering because they don't feel that they have a competent public safety apparatus to keep people safe. So, it kind of falls into the title of this episode, right? NYPD won't save you. Yeah, we're going to air it on these things, but we're not going to tell anybody where it is, because we don't want people gathering, because if they do, we don't know what to do to keep people safe other than let's create a zone. And we don't have enough cops to put thousands of people in one zone and then let the rest of the city burn outside of it. So, that's just a sign of things to come. This is your city. This is New York City. This is post a competent police force, in my opinion. And I'm not knocking the rank and file. I'm talking about the leadership. I don't know why I always have to preface it with that for people, but it just is what it is. I'm not talking about the average person. I'm not even talking about the average captain or deputy inspector. I'm talking about the power structure of the New York City Police Department. They're clearly not competent.
I tell you what, the city council members for those districts should be at those scenes and say, hey, can I see those rosters? I like to see them. And maybe they won't show them, but say, I'm curious. I like to see those rosters. I just want to see how many cops are actually working this event. I'm curious. I just want to see how many cops it takes to work an event like this. That's a great question.
He did it.
I was saying that they're scared of Tish. They're not going to do that.
Oh yeah, you know that.
Yeah, look at the hearings last week. How the You know, Tish, again, I said it on Friday. Tish said it 8 times, right? I'll follow up with you on that. I'll get back to you on that. Oh, we'll talk about it off, you know, in afterwards. And they didn't seem to give you know, the FDNY commissioner that room, you know. I think they're all scared of Tish and scared of her money and
Yeah.
influence.
Figuratively speaking, Marlon, they were ready to chop off the commissioner's head in the FDNY.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Jessica
yeah, yeah.
Tish, she's like, I'll give you more time. Okay, thank you. Meanwhile, you know, Areola jumped down their throats. Where were you to jump down Jessica Tish's throat? She was real tough, Joanne Areola. Then, right, backing up Lincoln Russell was Golden Girl's haircut. But she didn't do it when Jessica Tish and Tiffany Caban had their little tiff. She didn't do it then. Where was she?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Power of money.
Yep, money and power.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. And then Loud Labs, New York City, he had posted the press release. I don't have it ready available to show you, but dude, I read the press release and I'm like, this is Chat GPT. Like this is not the lingo of the New York City Police Department. And so it looks like such a like poor job is like just coming out on all levels everywhere. I'm like, you couldn't even just put it in Chat GPT and then rewrote it in like department lingo. Like you had to just give the straight Chat GPT.
ChatGPT.
Like the straight fucking one. Like you didn't even like change like, you know, cops to like members of service, like, you know, police cars to RMPs. Like I'm like, what is I was like they didn't even take the time to do that.
Did it have the ChatGPT underscores?
Dude, it had like it was like I don't know. I'm not good with pulling Instagram up on here for whatever reason, but it was hysterical, dude. So funny. So why don't you guys talk about the like anything else on that cop, Marlon? Like where he was collared? Like anything came out about that? Like you were saying how like Tish, what's it called? Like you believe that it didn't come out in the media because of what was occurring in the New York City Police Department. Because I remember that shooting, and it was super weird, dude. It was like there was nothing out there about it. It was like the dude's in a stolen car, but it's actually not stolen. And then really nothing was said about it after that. And it sounded like a bad shoot, like from what we were hearing.
Eric, you want to go? Let me try and pull up the article first to give the audience some context.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, immediately when that came out, I remember Marlon and I both spoke about it and how skeptical we were. It's just there was a lot. It was very vague in in the information that was put out. There wasn't much information put out at all. There wasn't much context put to it. It didn't make sense, and it just, you know, we said it was particularly odd that any cop would get involved in that situation. I mean, pursuing your own car. I mean, I said, is there a love triangle there? What exactly is going on? Is it just there's no manpower? But the bottom line is, it just it didn't seem what it was to meet the eye. It just it didn't seem right. So if you could pull it up, I think it's good we pull up that article. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the specific article that had the picture that was floating around that we used a lot in the when we first talked about it.
Yeah, the call.
Yeah, but I'm going to share a link with the chat so Chad gets up to speed with this case. But just let me give you a little background on it. This happened on March 14th, and this involved an officer, Baez, who worked in on the mayor's detail in Gracie Mansion.
44 years old, Baez. Yep.
Yeah, he has about 12 years on, and he apparently the initial story was that he followed some guys who stole his vehicle. He followed one of the vehicles involved with stealing his vehicle, and he followed them to an apartment building where the driver got out, went into the building, and as the driver was coming out of the building, he stopped him at gunpoint and put him under arrest. And he pointed his firearm at the other passengers in the vehicle and fired a round, which struck the passenger in the head. Passenger was taken to the hospital, and the passenger was in a coma. And I haven't heard whether the passenger recovered from the coma or passed. I don't think he's passed because they're charging him with attempted murder right now, so he might
You
still
got to
be in a
charge
coma.
attempted murder, kidnapping.
Yeah, they a whole bunch of charges.
You know what? You know what's interesting about that also, Marlon? When that story came out, and I thought it was interesting, was we had no information on it, but the community was saying that he's a vigilante, this cop, and yet there was no information put out. So I was wondering how much did the community know about this arrest, or what was the involvement with him and those guys? Because immediately they were calling him a vigilante. So it seemed that the community had a lot more information than we had.
Yeah, there was a lot about this incident that just didn't make any sense, you know? The fact that like we asked questions like how was he able to follow this vehicle, you know, how did he know it was involved with his car? How like when did it happen? When was his car stolen? Did he just witness his car being stolen and he just happened to follow this vehicle? Was he canvassing his neighborhood to find this vehicle? Apparently, in the paper, it says that he was conducting an investigation himself. Off basically, he was running his own case on that vehicle, on his stolen car, and sure enough, you know, he's been charged with misconduct and I forget a specific charge, but it involves using the department's resources and databases for his investigation. And like we said, I think this wasn't being talked about in the media because of it's pretty bad when you think of it. You know, I mean, they're saying that it's uncertain right now whether the passenger that was struck in the head was actually involved with taking his vehicle. But the point is that, I mean, you got a guy who's in a coma right now, and that's that's clearly like, you know, I mean, this guy clearly was out of line in doing that, you know, and it looks terrible on the department that this happened, and you have a civilian here who's, you know, by all likelihood going to be paralyzed or some to some degree paralyzed if he manages to get out of this coma, and you know, it's pretty egregious, and I think that's one of the reasons why Tish exerted her influence over the media. I'm speculating that she exerted her influence over the media to not talk about this because it doesn't make any sense to me why this wasn't, uh, you know, this wasn't on the news, you know, repeatedly, certainly after it happened in March.
I still feel there's a lot more to the story that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
Context missing. Because what I thought was odd is, all right, listen, if your car is stolen, at least in my opinion, for me, it's property. If my car was stolen, I'll file the insurance claim. If the police find it, great. Honestly, I hope they don't find it. If someone steals my car, I hope they don't find it, get my insurance claim. That's it. But the fact that he pursued the car, that's why I said it's just some type of love triangle going on here. Does he know the occupants that are in the car? Is it more of some type of unauthorized use? Did he let some buddies use the car and they never brought it back? So it seemed to me that there was a lot more context that we're just missing here. Because, I mean, at least I'm sure you guys feel the same. At least that's how I feel. If someone stole my car, I call the insurance company. I hope they don't find my car. I get my money. Who cares? It's just a car. At least for me, I don't love anything that doesn't love me back. It's just property.
I'm with you totally, dude. I don't give a shit about
honestly.
I mean, I care about
okay.
it. I don't want it to get dinged where I have to walk out in the morning and see shit on it, like dings and like my things broken, things that'll fix it. But if you steal my car, I'm not worried about it. That's why I pay insurance. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not coming for you either. I don't care. Like, please do me a favor. Don't have it found again. Put it on a shipping container. I don't want to find the shell of it. I don't want to deal with it. You know, I'm totally with you, dude. But to be fair, like some people aren't like that and they take it as a personal slight and then they'll want to go after it. And I know there were instances in the past where people have taken things personally, whether it was you know, a love triangle or something involved. And I could literally go through every one of those scenarios and those cops were ultimately fired. Like they tried to take it in their own hand. Like, oh, this dude beat me. Now I'm going to get my money back. Or this dude stole my thing. Now I'm going to take it back from him. Like, don't do that. Like, don't. It's property, man. Like, whatever. Deal with it in court. Let the cops deal with it, or just chalk it up as a loss. You know what I mean? You know.
Yeah, I just the only time I think that where property is taken that you might be emotionally invested is if your house is burglarized. The reason I always say I think that's the worst form of stolen property is because someone entered the sanctity of your home, right? So that's a kind of like an eerie feeling. I don't think if someone burglarized my home, I don't know if I'd want to live there anymore because someone entered my home. That's a kind of like an eerie feeling, you know. But when it comes to a car, take the car, please. Just don't bring it back. I hope you don't find it. I don't care. I'll get another car. It's just a pair of wheels. It's not an asset anyway. A car's a liability. If it's for a home, that's different. That's your asset, something you build. At least I don't know if you guys agree. That's how I feel when it comes to that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. I mean, I think burglary is an awful crime. You know, I laugh that New York believes that it's a non-violent crime. I think it's one. I think it's one of the most violent crimes there is. And now I've locked up a lot of burglars, and I'll say that I've ran into some burglars that are they're just skells. They're really just thieves. They're not there to harm you. However, you enter the sanctity of my home. Like, I'm gonna defend my family. I don't know what you're gonna do when you capture me. There was one guy that we locked up, and I'm not gonna say his name, but we locked him up, and he had like confessed to like a pattern of like 50 burglaries. And during the confession, one of the things that he told us was that he's like, I'm not a violent guy, I'm not a bad guy, I'm not a violent guy. He really was just a thief. And he had broken to this older lady's house in Tottenville thinking she wasn't home. And she actually was home. And so when she woke up and she sees him in the house, he drops on the floor and has a heart attack. So what he does is he picks up the phone, he calls 911, he says, my mother's having a heart attack. Please come and get her. He opens all the doors and leaves the doors wide open so that the ambulance can come and get her. And then he runs to his lookout down the block and makes sure the ambulance got her. And she actually survived. And his story checked out completely.
Wow.
But there was never a burglary taken for it. We charged him for it afterwards because she didn't even know it really happened. And her kids didn't even really believe her. She's like, I saw someone in the house. But like no one put together like how were the doors open, any of that stuff. So he was like trying to say, I think he's still in jail. He got a long time because he was out on parole already. But so like there are guys that are just thieves, but like I'm with you 100%. Like you
ever see that? You ever see that hillbilly on social media? And I'm like, this guy is awesome. They ask him, I don't know if you ever saw it. They asked him like, what happens if someone enters your home? Who do you call? He goes 811. They go, you mean 911, right? He goes, no, 811. They're like 811. He goes, yeah, I just want to know where I dig the hole.
Not hit any gas lines.
That's the way to be, man. If someone enters your home, you gotta take care of business.
That's fun.
Yeah. This is the picture you're looking at is from the incident itself, and this is if you look up by the street sign, you'll see him pointing his gun at the driver who was exiting the apartment building at the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts, you know. But anyway, this is in the paper. And look at what one of the DAs are saying, right? Assistant Bronx District Attorney John Vega. He says Bayer's apparent aim was to track it down and to shoot the people in the car without any regard to whether or not the people in the Genesis. This is the Hyundai that you see here. The white Hyundai is Hyundai Genesis, right? He says whether the people in the Genesis happen to be the people who stole his car. And he's also saying that they have conclusive evidence that the passenger who was struck in the head was not involved in the stolen vehicle. So it's not looking good for this cop if the DA is openly, if one of the DAs are openly talking about the case like that. Yeah. I don't know what was going through this guy's head. And I have to agree with you, Eric. I think there may be a lot more that we don't know here, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. It's just, and like you said, he directed his attention towards the guy coming out of the building. That's kind of odd.
Well, for one, a certain former Finest Unfiltered show host is alleging that there was some sort of relationship involved in here.
No,
Now,
if it's
yeah, who knows? Who knows?
if there's
But
relationship drama, I'm sure that network knows about it. They're really into that. The
yeah,
Inquirer stuff.
Something else to think about is this guy was in Intel security gig at the mayor's office, right? Gracie Mansion, with only 12 years on. And I have to wonder, who does he know to have gotten to that detail? You either get to that detail two ways. You either get involved in some shooting where it's, you're a medal winner in the NYPD. You do something great that gets you promoted to Intel, and they ask you where you want to go. That's one of the locations. Or you really know people. So I wonder how he got to that.
Was he running mine and Eric's name in the computer? What's his last name?
Was he doing what?
What's this guy's name again?
Actually, John, I think the name that was running, I want to say, I think it was Baez, man.
Well, the two guys that were supposedly dropped off the dude that was kidnapped to the crypto bros, those guys were running on names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those guys were running on names. Like I have the IAB files with that. I wonder if he was too. We're good, bro. We didn't take your call, dude.
Yeah. Well, I wonder who he worked for before, or who he knew. Did he know Caban? Yeah.
Were they part of the Hispanic Society together? Maybe.
Make you wonder, right?
Where's Joseph Aiello when you need him? Hey, were they in the Hispanic Society?
So what do you guys think about this one? This one was anything else on this before we switch?
Nah, just a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about this one? Mark, could you grab that photo down for me?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What do you think about this? So UFC 250 last night at the White House. There's a certain detective there in uniform, and I'm like, who is that guy? Who's that guy there in uniform? Oh, that's retired former DEA President Paul DiGiacomo in uniform. I'm like, how much were those tickets, Eric? You said they were like $1.5 million each for attendees.
There were 5,000 VIP tickets. Each one was 1.5 million.
Wow.
1.5 million.
Wow. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I mean, like, I'll tell you right now, like, I don't think you're going to catch me anywhere ever again, ever in my dress uniform, ever. I'm no longer a member of the New York City Police Department.
Yeah, because you're not vaccinated, John. He's vaccinated.
Yeah, he's a real hero. He's a real hero. He didn't help Marlon when Marlon got fired. He didn't do anything. Yeah, he's a real hero. But what do you think about, like, to me, I'm like, if I was a retired DEA president or I was a union president and I had the opportunity to go there, I think I would do a raffle with just my members and just give it to a working person and like, or someone that's like going through a hardship in life. I don't think that I would take that opportunity. I think it's honestly, I don't think he paid $1.5 million for that ticket. I don't think anyone paid $1.5 million for that ticket. I think that was like a salute to heroes section somehow. And either he weaseled his way in or somebody weaseled their way in for him. And I think that I would have gave that up. I think it's honestly, I think it's disgraceful. Honestly, I was like, when people were sending me this last night, I was like, can't make it up, man. You really can't make it up.
I don't think he wore his uniform when he was on the job. It's wearing it now.
Seriously, yeah, seriously. When was the last time he wore his dress uniform?
He must have had to go buy one. At least still had that.
I mean, he would show up to funerals in suits.
Right.
And that always pissed me off too. Like, what are you wearing a suit at a funeral for? Put your fucking uniform on.
Yeah, but at least he's vaccinated. You can wear it when you're vaccinated. That's where the hero shit comes in.
But seriously, would you ever do that?
No, I threw. First of all, everybody knows when I retired, I took a garbage can, pulled it to my office, and threw everything out. All my awards, including my uniforms. I don't own one piece of material from the NYPD. Nothing. Not even a pin.
What, you know what? I still have everything in a box. I actually have it here on Staten Island. If anybody's a 34-30 pants, extra medium and shirts, hit me up. I got a lot of them for you.
If you like, I can burn it for you. I would have we can have a little watch party. You can have Knicks fans come. Little watch party burning John. It's John. Let's be honest, they're not a 30. They're more like 28s, but it's okay.
No, that would have been if I would have still been on and I stayed and I went to CRT and I had the tight khakis. Then I would have had to get 28s. You know,
28 length.
Oh, you're saying 28 length?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That went bad. Yeah. I got the Michael
My
Jackson.
question is Paul actually retired or what?
You know what? That's a good question. Is he still active?
Great
He's
question.
showing active?
Yeah, he is. I mean, this was in 2024, right? This article came out in 2024. I don't know what his actual date of retirement. I guess it's sometime in July of 2024.
No dress
but-
uniform? Yeah, no dress
How
uniform.
old is he?
He's still on the NYPD's site.
Because if this bill goes through, he can retire at 65. He'll stay on.
Huh?
He came
Don't give
on
him ideas.
came on in 85.
Yeah.
We were 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I wonder if he's actually, I guess he hasn't been finalized or whatnot. But this also brings up another point that we've been talking about, that
So he's active on the NYPD roster.
yeah. So is Chell, so is Kaz.
Is he one of the 35,000?
Well, yeah. I gotta
Yeah.
wonder about that. I'm sure they're still carrying them, acting as though they're active cops.
Hey,
huh?
Bruce Separano's still on the job, and he's riding his time for 4 years.
Let me see if Ed Caban is still on there. Yeah, Ed Caban. Let me see. Ed Caban. No, Ed Caban ain't there. But Chell and Kaz are still on there too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Shell's still running his time?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Does he does his time stop before he gets elected mayor?
Huh. Well, will he be counted as the 35,000 cops by the time he runs for mayor? Supposedly runs for mayor.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's shameful, Paul. You know, you think the union had anything to do with that ticket, John?
I think like his connections definitely came through the union. So it's possible. Like I think ultimately, if you look at the factors, it'll come through the union. But did it come through the union?
Like, did they
Now? No, because I think Scott would have been there peacocking with like some ugly ass fucking suit on, like checkered suit that like nobody should ever wear. Like the suit. Yeah, like a suit that you would think would be on like the for sale line in Macy's or some shit. Like who the fuck is wearing that? Shit went out of style fucking 20 years ago, bro.
He looked good, Paul. He looked younger.
Boardwalk. Well, yeah. I mean, look, it's not that hot when you haven't worked in fucking 20 years, you know. I mean, I like the thing is like, what do they really fucking do? Honestly, what do they really do? They set up the cantina for you. You're sweating your balls off all day. Like, what do they actually really do for you? Could anybody answer me? Like, like you're required to get raises. They don't do well at negotiating those. If anything, I'll make the case that since the 0-0s, every contract has been a disaster. Every contract you funded your own raise. I'll make the case that they actually harm you more. It's like, I think like when I look at the unions now negotiating for you, negotiating settlements and your terms and fighting for you, I look at them the same way I look at like when the police department used to put me out there doing traffic. Instead of letting a functioning system work, like the traffic light that goes red, yellow, and green, they have me out there in the middle of Midtown who's never conducted traffic, don't know what the hell I'm doing, and they're like, "Yeah, just do this and that and that." And I'm like, I'm just standing there. I'll just stand in the street so you can't say I'm off post, but I'm just gonna let the lights do that job. I'll keep anyone from blocking the crosswalk. I'm not conducting traffic. I'm not getting anybody killed today. You know, but that like that the unions are about as effective as me doing traffic. Well, instead of going outside the red, yellow, and green.
I wonder if Paul knows Roger Stone.
Hmm.
I don't know. Was Stone that?
I don't know.
Probably.
I would put my money on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, Marlon, if you were vaccinated, you could have been there. Could have been
No, Eric. That's you got to be in the club to get there. You know, I'm not in the club. None of us are gonna get in that club. You know. So.
Yeah, it's a big club. We missed that boat.
Yeah, I see your comment, Patrick Donahue. I mean, yeah, I see your point, but keep in mind this guy was very active. You know, I mean, that's a good amount of collars for his time. Yeah.
I had way more. I had more.
It's not the most.
I had more.
I've seen more.
I wasn't a second grader. Oh, this guy. Oh, I thought that was talk about them.
Yeah, this is the kid from
sorry.
You know, that was arrested. Yeah, he had he you know, that's a good amount of collars. It's not the most I've seen. So
you got so many collars, he got himself collared.
Well, here's the other thing, right? He was in look at the units that he was in. Right? He was in narcotics before that, and the Bronx, Detective Bureau Bronx. That means he probably didn't spend much time at any of these locations, to be honest with you. Right?
No, it seems very transient. Huh?
Yeah. So who did he know? 4-2 Bronx. So he was mainly a Bronx cop. So he probably knows, you know, the chiefs associated with the Bronx. So am I, you know, you got to wonder who he knows is all I'm saying. Right. So yeah.
Not to go back off topic, but KB in New York City says, fact, NYPD had 35,000 cops on duty and couldn't call the riots and destruction of vehicles and property. I think you're being facetious. There's no way there was 35,000. That's what we're saying. There's no way. I mean, legitimately, not being funny, how many cops do we really think there are, including sergeants and lieutenants, up to the rank of captain?
Like working active
that actually full
out
duty
on the street. I'd say between 15,000 and 23,000. I wouldn't say any more than that, and I'd say 23,000 is a stretch. I'd say 23,000 people on sick leave. Like, you know, like there's something seriously not right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I 100%. These numbers don't add up. There's no way.
Doesn't add up.
No.
No.
And if you're hiring all these people, where are they? I don't want to hear that they're not in cause for 18 months. Bullshit. There's no way you're not going to start grabbing and using and touching these guys.
Well, it's interesting you say that, right? That was something else I didn't see. Besides patrol cars, I didn't see any foot posts either. And I was in Midtown. I don't expect in Sheepshead Bay, but or Gravesend. But in Midtown, I expected to see foot posts. I didn't see any, especially with the World Cup going on right now and the Knicks games. I didn't see anything. It was really it was an interesting sight. Just always used to seeing cops. I figured, be a couple of cops I could, shoot the shit with, or just ask them how things are going. I didn't see any. None.
Yeah. So just to back up a little too, the Giacomo's showing up as active in the NYPD. He's not showing up as retired, right? Because he's showing up, which means he's active, but he officially aged out. So he really is not a member of the New York City Police Department. However, NYPD Online shows him as active. So what's up with that? You know what I mean? And dude, this was, speaking of no cops in Midtown, this is Midtown yesterday. There was no, I guess the World Cup celebrations, mostly peaceful World Cup. Non-violent gang assaults.
Oh my God.
No, so it's really, I mean, imagine New York or nowhere. Safest big city. Oh, look, there's the cops. Oh, look. What are they doing? Hey guys. It looks good. Everything looks good.
If this happens, and they all run away before the cops actually stop there. Is it actually a recorded crime?
I don't know, but that kid definitely got Edwards beat for getting over that barrier in record time.
That's actually pretty funny.
Give that kid the Medal of Valor.
Yeah. Hey, look. Also, there's no way that we have 35,000 cops because, again, let me pull this down for a second, John.
Yeah, take it down.
This was the city telling you in 2023 that due to the budget cuts, right, the impending budget cuts, they're gonna have to lower manpower to early 1990s level. So how is it possible that now that we've arrived at those budget cuts where they're trying to find money all over the place, where they can, and they had to beg Hochul again for $6 billion? How is it possible that we have 35,000 cops when they told you back then that we're going to have less cops than the early 1990s due to the budget cuts? It doesn't math to me. Okay.
Yeah, but they got a legacy protect now because remember, Eric Adams is a Fox News personality, Republican. He's a good guy, Eric Adams. I can't believe New York City got rid of him. It doesn't correlate with the fact that he actually was a defund the police guy and lowered the overall headcount of the NYPD. Like the Democrats want to distance themselves from that. And so they want to put the position out there that it's like, it's the socialists that did this. It's like, no. It was the Democratic Party that did this. It was all of you. Even you that consider yourselves moderate Democrats. It was your party that wanted to lower the overall headcount of the NYPD. Eric Adams is a Democrat in every sense of the word. And he pushed all this. And he, was it all his fault? No, he was following suit with Bill de Blasio. And I'll say the same thing with Mondani. Is Mondani the worst mayor ever? No, he was just following suit with his predecessors before him. That's it. It's
true.
And
I'm saying he even hired a lot of their people too, like Dean Fullahan. And look, we got this guy Alex Cronus back there again. He was a de Blasio guy,
right?
Yeah. And then you guys were talking about the cab drivers that were assaulted. Like one of them's in the media now saying he thinks that like he's gonna quit, like because he's afraid to like go back out. He just got his whole car destroyed. It cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like he got beat up, and he doesn't know that it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's wild. And here's that video that I was talking about. Watch what happens here. So this dude, he's got a Spurs jersey. Right? They're all fucking surrounding him, all this shit. Now watch what happens. He gets surrounded. Now they want it. They're like, take it off. You're going to give it to me. Take it off. Right? Everyone goes around him. And now they're just going to wait for the hyenas. They move in. Now they start throwing water on him, pushing him. Here we go. Now he starts to walk away. He's like, all right, this is getting a little crazy. I'm getting out of here. All the cameras come out. Now you got about 200 people around you. And boom, here we go. Rip his jersey off of him. Rip him. And now they take him down. Watch this. And now they start beating him up. And they're dragging him. And they're ripping him across the floor. Watch this. Cop pulls him away from the crowd. Here he is with his shirt off. Look what happens. They lock him and his friend up. He's getting locked up for being assaulted.
You can't make this up, dude. You can't. You can't make it up. Dude, honestly, it really hurts me. I swear to God, I mean it. Like in the bottom of my heart, pit of my stomach. It hurts me to watch the NYPD move like this. They look lost. They look confused. They look weak. They look timid. They look standoffish. They look unsure. They do not look like professionals. I'm sorry. And it's mostly because of leadership. Are there guys there that are not qualified, should never been cops? Yes. But you get the right leadership, at least we could give them a little direction.
Dude, they're saying they locked him up for his safety.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. We're going to lock you up for your safety. We're not going to lock everybody else for your safety. We're going to lock you up.
We're going to lock you up for your safety. It's like,
right. That's the most ridiculous thing.
That's a low hanging fruit enforcement, you know.
Well, think about it. I mean, there were 66 arrests, right? Is 66 arrests a lot of arrests considering how much?
One of them, dude. A victim
right.
was one of them.
Right. So that was a void arrest. So there's actually 65 arrests. It's the most ridiculous thing. Who are we actually arresting? Who's making these decisions? Is it you, Timmy Boudet? Who? Because we know it has to be the incident commander. What was the verbiage from the protest settlement? The highest ranking commander, right?
The First Amendment, whatever the hell.
There you go. That's it. The First Amendment commander, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So is that you, Timmy Boudet? Like, who makes these decisions on who's getting arrested and what they get in charge? It's the most ridiculous thing. This protest settlement is a disaster. Shame. Any blood is on the hands of city council putting through that protest settlement. Shame on them.
It wasn't a council, dude. It was Adams. It was Caban. It was
all of them.
It was the AG. It was New York State Attorney General's office and the New York City. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. The NYC. You know, the lawyers, like the paid lawyers. What the hell?
Corporate counsel.
Corporate counsel?
No, it's a not for profit.
Oh.
It'll come to me, but whatever. It's a lefty organization. They give free attorneys out. Civil liberties, New York Civil Liberties. Yeah. It was between all that. And then, and certain police unions signed on to it, and I'm pretty sure it was the LBA, the CEA, and the DEA that signed on to it. And I'm pretty sure the PBA and the SBA didn't.
Matt Fasano in the chat here. This is hilarious. This is 66. I can't even read this. It's too funny. 66 victims were arrested for their safety. That's hilarious.
But I've never heard that before. Like, people were sending it to me saying, "Oh, that's just spinning this narrative. He got arrested for his safety." I'm like, dude, we have a constitution in this country. Like, it's his fault. He shouldn't be wearing that. I'm like, what? Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, I went to. I don't want to laugh at it, but it's the guy's nuts, and he's a legend on the job. I'm not gonna blow him up on here, but he's close to Nolan. But they teach you in the academy, like, you don't ever like victim shame, right? And so I go to when I'm a rookie, I'm driving the boss or whatever, and we go to this. I'm lying. I wasn't driving the boss, but he just shows up on the scene because it was a sexual assault that happened on this young girl after a club. And one of the senior cops comes there, and he tells the girl, "Well, no wonder you got raped. Look how you dressed. Look how you dressed." And that's how the guy talked. And my sergeant like almost ripped his head off. And he's like, "Get out of here. Get out of here right now." Right. And then I'm like, what the hell? Because they teach you in the academy, like, don't ever do that. And they actually give you that example. Right. And like, this is the same thing as that. That's the same thing. It's like, look how you're dressed. It's your fault you got assaulted.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, wait, so you were not allowed to you're not allowed to like any other team than a New York team in New York? And then if you do, it's your fault if you get assaulted? It's like, yeah, it's your fault. You should have never wore that Spurs jersey. So now we got to lock you up. How about if we would have locked up that girl for her safety? Like, that's your fault because look how you got dressed. That's why you got raped. So now we're locking you up.
John, what penal law charges that? Locking someone up for their safety. What penal law charges that?
I'm thinking you have to hit the kid with inciting or disorderly conduct, and for the crime of wearing a Spurs jersey after an NBA's final, which is basically, if the kid's smart, he had an attorney yesterday, and he's going to make a lot of money. I don't care what happened after that. Like, I got beat up, and you locked me up, like, for my safety. And you charged me or gave me a summons for disorderly conduct because I was wearing a Spurs shirt, which is First Amendment, was protected under the First Amendment.
That was
like policing, never. Like, that is like the worst policing I've ever seen.
Low hanging fruit. Yeah. He
That's
said
it.
we go for no, I said it's low hanging fruit enforcement. We go for the easy one, rather than the difficult
Well, they
But it's
won't
not
be.
the easy one, bro. It's the hardest one. Like it's the one that you're gonna be paying for years, dude.
Well,
Like you're
nobody's
gonna get
thinking
a
that.
crazy lawsuit.
Yeah.
Well, they won't be
Nobody's thinking
accused
that.
of.
The rookies aren't thinking that.
They won't be accused of bias-based policing. They locked up the white guy.
Yeah.
Juju, what did we tell you about posting on duty, bro? You're gonna get in
Come on,
trouble.
Juju.
Come on.
Juju, did you have to go into work? Everybody was. No one had audios. Did you have to go in?
He was there. I heard he went sick.
He went sick. He had to watch the Finest Unfiltered.
He was having a panic attack watching all the buses getting taken over.
He's still combing through his lawsuit. Why did Sal sue me again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I do?
I see your comment, Chief. Well, like I said, what worries me is that you see kids who years ago would never challenge cops there, and you have to wonder if, like, these if like neighborhood riots were to erupt now, how prepared if a Crown Heights or Washington Heights riot was supposed to break out today, how would the NYPD react to those type of riots when you have like kids, dweebish kids who are now challenging the cops? How would we respond to those riots now? So
Crazy. All right. Anything before we hit up the super chats?
No.
I think we covered everything.
I'm going to see if I can find the penal code, the penal law for arrested for your safety. Oh, that getting the coffee donuts.
It's the same one as hitting grandma with a summons,
Yeah.
or riding a bike on the sidewalk. Yeah.
But at least she committed a crime, though. Like you have probable cause that she did it. Like is it unnecessary and ridiculous to do? Yeah, at least she did it. You know what I mean? This is like you're just making shit up now. Like, nah, bro, we gotta lock you up for your safety, bro. Sorry. It's like, dude, what about the guys that just assaulted me? Nah, can't deal with that, Mo.
That's too many crime numbers.
Yeah, nah. Because then I'd have to charge them with a felony for gang assault, so we can crimes down.
Hey, that's a good move on the CEO when you go to ComStat. Like, how did you bring the numbers down? We locked up the victims.
Yeah.
Victims. How dare you fucking make a complaint?
Oh, you call 911? You're under arrest.
That's what we're gonna do from now on.
He incited. The guy left the TV right in the window so that the burglar's seen it. And then the guy breaks in his house. Of course he's going to break in his house. The guy's an idiot for keeping his windows open.
Now you have to have two.
Lock the homeowner up. Lock the homeowner up.
Now you have to have two. Now you have to have two columns in your arrest. If you go for an interview, you're a young cop. Like, how many perpetrators did you arrest and how many victims?
Yeah,
I got 10 victims and 50 perps.
Sick. We just changed the definition. So.
Gotta get those numbers up, man. Gotta get those numbers up. More victims.
That was sick, dude. All right, let's do it.
Nuts.
All right, Statin Guy 321. He says all the job does is fuck people over, literally and figuratively. That's harsh. Cat is out of the bag too. They just hate white people. Sanctioned bias. Sorry. So I'm gonna say they don't hate white people. They hate white men. And for you Hispanics out there and you Asians out there and a lot of you Pacific Islanders out there and even a lot of you black guys, you are now considered white. Congratulations. You have all of the privilege assigned to that too. I don't care if actually you're a black man who grew up in the projects, if you're an immigrant like Marlon, if you're an Asian dude that came here with pennies in your pocket, if you're a Pacific Islander that came here with pennies in your pocket. You all have white privilege. So, and unless you align fully with the progressive left-wing woke narrative that's continued to be pushed in the NYPD, you're a white man. And they hate white masculinity. They hate masculinity, and they want it stripped of the New York City Police Department, and they want it stripped of law enforcement totally. They'd rather cops sitting there just keeping everyone calm while they burn everything. Okay, guys, do me a favor. Can you get down from the bus now? Okay, you won't? Okay. Oh, you're going to throw stuff at me now? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no problem. And that's what they want. They want you to be guardians and not warriors.
Spot on, brother. Thank you for the coffee and donuts. We appreciate it.
Well, don't forget Zohan vowed to get rid of rugged individualism, and to embrace the warmth of collectivism. They hate individualism, and they hate anybody who's made made anything for themselves and gotten off the government dole. They hate anybody who can move away from dependency on big government, big daddy government. And if you're one of those people, you'll be considered white regardless of who you are. You'll be considered an oppressor regardless of who you are. So
Yeah, absolutely. People of faith, rugged individuals, those who fear God and not government, like those who bow before God and not those in elected office. Yeah, 100%. Then you are considered a toxic masculine white male, and you could be a female too, people. And you could be a female of color too. Just you have to fully align with that progressive narrative. So what do we got now? Crazy 10-7. I haven't seen you in a while, brother. Welcome back. They made 63 arrests out of sheer desperation. If they made 40 in the beginning, they could have avoided 50% of the violence. I want the message of ops broadcasting that they depleted all mobilizations released immediately. So Crazy 10-7 brings up a great point, because it's something that we talk about often on here, is like your posture immediately will dictate everything that happens. What happened, what you witnessed is people saw that, hey, well, you know what? The cops are here and I could stand on the bus. And then they realized, well, the cops aren't doing anything. I'm just standing on the bus. They're just telling me to get out of here. McCarthy keeps walking around like he doesn't know where the fuck he is. And he's just like, yeah, guys, get off the bus. And he keeps walking around and nobody gets off the bus. And then they keep getting back on the bus. And then they start beating on the bus and the cops don't do anything. And then they start lighting the bus on fire. And the cops still don't do anything, and it just descends into chaos. So what Crazy 10-7 saying, if you had a no tolerance approach from the beginning, probably more than likely, and I'm going to say it, I don't think what you saw on 42nd Street ever happens. I think 42nd Street stays clear. People are able to drive their car. They wouldn't be carjacked, assaulted, mugged. Those buses wouldn't have been burned. Taxi drivers wouldn't have been assaulted. Those cop cars wouldn't have burned. But because our posture was, we just want you to let all your joy out and burn everything down and beat people, and we're just going to downplay all of this later on because the zone's safe behind me. You get more of what you don't want.
This is spot on. The bottom line is, you give people an inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's what's happening. Unless you stand strong and you have zero tolerance in the interim, in the beginning, slap those cuffs on immediately. Once people start seeing metal come out, I don't care if it's 1900, 1950, or 2026. One thing that hasn't changed is those handcuffs are still metal. Until they come out with love cuffs, they're still metal bracelets. And when people see those metal bracelets, things change real quick. So if they acted immediately, things would stop. But when you give people an inch, they take a mile. That's why I said one person swinging from a light pole, 2 people, 3 people on a stanchion, it starts to grow. And once they see the police is not responding, they just get more comfortable and more emboldened. That is crowd psychology. People feed off each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It was you saw that nothing happened, so they just kept getting more and more emboldened, and to the point that it just descended into chaos. And the only strategy they had at that point is, all right, let's just let them tire themselves out. Mm-hmm. Lock up the victims and let them let the perpetrators tire themselves out. Oh, they burned your cab. You're under arrest. Driver.
I like that. How did you stop the problem? We arrested 66 victims.
First question, you see a cab driver, he gets assaulted, he gets his cab stolen. First question you got to ask, are you a Spurs fan? Oh, you deserve it. You from Texas? You from the West Coast?
Yeah, why were you driving here?
What were you thinking being out this late at night?
Yeah.
What were you thinking driving through the crosswords of the world after the Knicks game?
Did you get in their way? Did you get in their way? They were trying to swing on a pole. Did you get in their way?
Yeah, no. You believe that? You believe this guy working for feed his family at night after the Knicks?
Well, here's another question. If that guy, when they were stomping on his car and he was in it, if he had decided to speed through and get the hell out of there, right? Would they have arrested him and charged him?
Oh, absolutely. He'd be terroristic acts, all the shit. They'd be going after him. absolutely. Then there'll be a statement released right now from Mondani. This is unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you have a hair on your ass and a pair of balls, you shouldn't be there, because if you defend yourself in New York City, you're gonna be like that kid with no shirt on, Spurs fan, and you're gonna be arrested. Especially, honestly, John, if it's me and you in New York City, we're getting arrested. Alpha white male. Oh yeah, that's it.
No DAT either. We're not going to be eligible for bail reform either.
Done.
Yeah.
So think of what they're telling you if you're a resident.
Use too much of the First Amendment, Mo. You can't do that. And then what are you thinking? You think you could just drive around the city when you want, walk where you want? You can't do that. It's inciting.
How dare you wear a black and white shirt?
Yeah.
So they're literally telling us then that you can't defend yourself. You should just take it. Yeah, you should just get murdered over there. Get your property destroyed
and be happy about it. And you'll be happy about it.
You see where this country's going? Daniel Penny is a villain, and the guy that stabbed the kid at the game. There's people claiming that he defended himself.
LeBron James saying he's going to give the kid a $500,000.
Right, exactly. This is where the world is going.
It's like, look, you took someone's life, dude. You're a dumb kid. You took somebody's life. It's honestly that there's just consequences that have to be paid. Kid I grew up with, he was at a bar one day drinking, and his sister was there. A bad mix, right? And some kid comes over and like slaps her ass and says something like ridiculous to her, and the kid loses his mind. He's not thinking. Grabs a knife, stabs the kid in the throat. Thankfully, the kid lived. That kid went to jail for a long time, dude.
Sure.
Like, and it was a bad mistake. It was a bad mistake. And like the actions have consequences, and was he a bad kid? No, he really wasn't. But it was just a bad point. He made a bad decision. And I as much as I knew the kid and I love him, I talked to him till today. It was a really bad decision. And now you take this kid Carmelo Anthony, and he actually killed somebody.
Yeah.
He killed somebody. Like it's not a mistake, and you should be out of jail thinking about it. Like there has to be a consequence for that action. It's not acceptable in society to stab someone over seating at a high school football game. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, but your friend just got unlucky, because if it was 2026, they would have arrested her for having tight jeans. It was her fault that he smacked her.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Sick dude. Ruben Alvarez, he says, the saddest part is the Brazilians had taken over Times Square earlier, but they did not vandalize anything. But we got absolute chaos later on. Thanks for keeping us in the know. So, I mean, that's the real sad part, is you're right, is there's so many people from all over the world in for the World Cup celebrating their teams.
Yeah.
And like Times Square is always packed with people, dude. I mean, you could go any time of the day, any time of the year. Now there's even more people there, and traditionally it's fine. I showed my wife a video the other day, and I was like, because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep after the Knicks won. One, I was elated that they won. Two, I was elated that Marlon was completely wrong in his assessment. And then,
Marlon said he was barely wrong.
Yeah,
I'm barely wrong.
He was barely wrong.
Well, listen, if Tish could say that we had a mostly peaceful, right? We had a barely right, then I could say I was barely wrong.
Yeah, exactly. If you could be barely wrong, sure.
What is that? It was barely legal.
But so she's like, go to sleep. I was like, but I just can't believe it, because the video that I was showing her is like these dudes getting just their asses handed to them, right? And I'm like, every time I've been in Times Square so many times in my life, but so many times post 9/11. And there was something that when you're right there, when you're on like 42nd and 7th, right in front of the little police building right there, there's always usually traditionally like 10, 15 cops there. K9, you have fully tacked up ESU, fully tacked up counterterrorism guys standing there with assault rifles. And I'm like, there was always like 20, 30 cops right here. Eric, you did the details, right? Like, right where I'm talking about, right? Like they always had those cops like seated right there. Like they're not there anymore. And she's like, well, why were they there? Like, what events did you see them? I was like, no, the event was they were there every day, all day long. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like there was no event. The event was this is our posture in New York City. I'm like, so I can't believe that I'm used to seeing that. Like that's ingrained in my head is like that image of all those guys there. And now I'm watching just people getting their asses handed to them in front of them. And then some poor cop locked in that little building going, what the hell am I supposed to do? I'm here by myself. Hopefully they don't, so stupid.
You're right, brother.
Before we move on, John, I just want to pull up something to show you guys why Times Square is just why exactly this is a bigger deal than people are making it out to be. Let me see, just so apparently visitors spend $4.8 billion annually directly within Times Square, right? And Times Square alone drives 9% of all direct tourist spending across the 5 boroughs. 9%. Okay, $4.8 billion. That tells you why this is a failure and why Times Square should they should have been protected at all costs, all measures. There should have been enough cops there that nobody would even dare think about doing that crap. It's just completely stupid that these people who run the city don't understand that there's no magical money tree that funds the city. Okay,
that's why I was saying earlier. What's the financial impact, the burden on damage to police cars, damage to buses, the small businesses that are affected by it? What's the burden for the taxpayer? Zohran Mamdani doesn't care. He's an elite. Jessica Tish doesn't care. She's an elite. No matter what happens, they're not affected by it. You think they're going to the local store, to the supermarket? You think Zohran Mamdani is going to one of those free supermarkets? Is Jessica Tish actually going to a local business? They're not affected by it. Not at all. It doesn't affect them.
Not free though, Eric. It's more affordable now. It was free. It was free during the campaign, now it's just more affordable.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, and we need that revenue because we got to fund all these violence interventions so they could sit home and watch the Knicks game while everybody riots. Or take part in the riots themselves.
Yeah. Completely stupid. In third world cities, in third world countries, right? Like in DR, they if you do something to kill a tourism or you're gonna impact their tourism revenue, they might kill you. And in a lot of third world countries, like I'll give you an example. In Grenada, last year there was 2 tourists that were killed. They managed to find those guys within 2 days. Okay. And the reason why is because tourism makes up like 20 or 30% of GDP. So you're if you impact that money, all bets are off on you.
Oh, they're gonna kill you.
That money is so important. They don't want the optics of it being a dangerous place or bad for the economy. And this is why, again, I don't understand New York City at all right now. Doesn't make any sense to me. The optics are very bad for the fiscal health of the city.
Ma, that's a great point. Anybody that's been to Dominican Republic or touristy parts of Mexico, if something happens to a tourist, you're gonna get it. Yeah, because that's big money. You're 100% right, especially DR. Those spots where the tourists are, they have to protect that because it's you're protecting the economic wheel. You're absolutely right.
Staten Guy 321. He says,
hey, brother.
It's not an easy discussion, but the time has come for all competent officers to find an exit plan. The city simply either doesn't care about you or won't work with you. The job and the unions showed their true colors in 2020. Yeah, I just think we need just real competent leadership. We're going to have Jimmy Wagner on in a few days. I got to get with him. I don't know, a few days, but soon I want to have Jimmy Wagner on and to discuss all his ballot reform options, where they're recall options. I think we just need an informed public and real leadership in New York City. And, anyone that believes that the NYPD operates separately from City Hall is out of their goddamn mind, doesn't pay attention to anything. The NYPD is a politically run organization. So goes New York City, so goes the NYPD. I don't believe it's beyond saving at this point. I hope it's not, because if it's not, I think it's going to have bigger implications than just in New York City. So because the commie corridor is going to realize they could take over everywhere, and they have the plan, the blueprint to do it, and there'll be no pushback anywhere. So my visual zone, he says, this is why we can't mix politics with policing. The last thing Tish/Mondani wanted was aggressive cops, perps getting hit, knocked to the ground, etc. Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, that's what it is. They don't want policing. They want exactly, okay, guys. Okay,
Yeah.
guys, just have some fun. Just a few snowballs. Just a bus on fire. No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people don't look at the bigger picture, you know.
These things only get worse, though. They don't settle themselves. I think people have this idea, especially the politicians, that they'll kind of settle themselves out, and they don't. They just get worse. And people watching this entire world, and especially we saw those crowds. They're not all savages. Those weren't all perpetrators. Those are just your average people that got away with something. Give them an inch, they take a mile. These things only get worse, and they get worse for daily life for every cop.
Yeah. Nolan says, John, if you go to the parade, be prepared to be locked up. Hey, look, it's a reality of life. You never know, you know. You never know. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like lock me up for inciting for my gray shirt, you know. Like, oh, you got a gray shirt on? Oh, you think you could just come out here? You know, how's that? It's possible. We'll see. See what happens, you know.
I love it. We're not locking anybody up, but we'll lock up victims and white men.
Yeah. Too much, no First Amendment, you know, no First Amendment, yeah.
That's it.
It's told you so back when, says Tanya Meisenholder succeeded in her destruction.
Yes.
I don't blame her. I think it's the academia that she has came from, and I think that there's 50 other Tanya Meisenholders currently running the NYPD, you know. So I think that's the other thing. She's no longer in the NYPD, but there's 50 other people still pushing that 30 for 30 and those DEI initiatives.
I think it told you so back when it means Tanya Meisenholder represents the other academia. And I think it's not just New York City, it's across the globe. I mean, we see it across the nation, the villainization of masculinity. And we see it in Europe, right? We're talking about last week, Marlon, remember? So it's in the Western world. This is a global issue going on right now with bringing down masculinity, and policing is the most tangible form of government, not just in the U.S. and other nations also. So it definitely drives the agenda.
Yeah. Just remember, Alex Crone was working there too. They were all in strategic initiatives at the same time.
Yeah.
You gotta love Pat. So Pat Donahue, he says, for anyone looking to celebrate the federal holiday day, Juneteenth, Scott Monroe has scheduled the DEA annual picnic on Long Island for that day. Wonder if Tish will deny the aviation flyover. Wow. God. Scott's not celebrating Juneteenth? I don't believe it.
It's an important day.
Wow. Federal holiday, bro.
That's right.
I wonder what Pat Gordon's got to say about that in the Guardians. The Guardians, do you have a statement about Scott Monroe having the DEA picnic in Long Island, by the way? But why are any events for the New York City Police Department outside of New York City? Anybody? You know,
very good point.
Why are any of them out east?
Out east. That's a good point. Who wants to go through that LIE traffic anyway? Oh God.
I used to laugh all the time when there was like events in Long Island. I'm like, I'm not going there. Like, what the hell am I going to do? Like, isn't that the New York City Police Department? Like, what the cigar night in Long Island?
Mm-hmm. So it's a union. It's a union party.
Yeah.
No one lives in the city.
I think. Anyway, I should go to that event. Actually,
you should. Bring your coin.
I'll wear boat shoes. I'll wear like I'm getting dressed to go out east on my boys' boats.
Eventually, we're all gonna have to meet up in New York and go to one of these union functions together, or one police plaza.
I'm not going to one of these union functions. I'd rather watch paint dry on the wall than I'd rather just do one brush and watch it dry and then do another one.
Bling. Yep.
Come on, Mo.
Tiny Meisenholder.
Yeah. So, all right, people. We got a million other comments. I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but I think overall, they did a great job. We just got to keep doing what we're doing, and everything's good. New York City Police Department, everything was safe. Just a few buses burned, just a few cabbies assaulted, just a few people shot. Someone on here said 12 people. I don't know those numbers. I don't have that confirmed. But if that's true, it's just 12 people. Spurs fans, just Spurs fans. Nothing to worry about. Crime's actually down. It's at historic lows. If you take away the pandemic years, or actually compare them to the pandemic years now, that's what we do now. And everything's good. It's the best version of the New York City Police Department ever. So appreciate everybody for being on here today. What do you guys got before we run?
Marlon, you got anything, brother?
Nah, I don't got anything. You guys, if you're out there, stay safe and stay aware of what's going on around you, and stay safe, especially for Thursday. All right, because I'm pretty sure these parties are going to be like all day and maybe till the early night on Thursday, right? And you might get local parties too. A lot of local parties too from that. So
I was ready to take a Kalshi bet that you're going to say before I go. I got nothing, but wait, there's some housekeeping.
Yeah, I think we covered it all today.
Hey, listen, 3 hours. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. 264,000 subscribers, and that's because of the engagement we get from our friends and listeners. We really appreciate it, and trolls too. Juju, we thank you. Listen, this conversation's outstanding. I think some great perspective. It really does pain me to see what's going on in New York City. And I said I haven't been there in almost 4 years. I spent the weekend there, and it was great, to be back and see New York City, but it felt completely different. Looked the same, but it felt different. It sure did, and had a different appearance and an eerie feeling to it. But we love it. That's why we want to come back to where it is. Again, thank you to the Gunfighters Motorcycle Club in Long Island for the Cancer Fund and honoring Derek. I really appreciate it. Those guys are outstanding, by the way. If you're into bikes, check those guys out at Gunfighters Motorcycle Club. A lot of cops, retired cops. Those guys were really, really nice guys. Super impressive. And a shout out also, Pasita, it's called. The guy came around with a cigar lounge, man. Have you seen that, John? A mobile cigar lounge. Super cool. So
that's cool. I never even thought about that.
Dude, let me tell you, super cool. It's called Pasita, Pssita. Cigar lounge. It's mobile. Cool. What's that?
It's really cool. I like that.
Dude, yeah. So check those guys out if you want. I got their card here somewhere. I gotta find it here. But if you're looking for a wedding, parties they do, check them out. The cigar lounge is so cool. They have tables inside. They sold cigars outside. You can walk right in the trail. It's so cool. You can watch a game in there and AC if it's too hot out. Check those guys out. That was super cool. And to the families there that was so supportive, man. We appreciate it. Everyone, listen, enjoy. We'll see you Wednesday as always. Executive Perspective, 10-4 Tavern. Thank you to the Finest Unfiltered family.
Well, you got anything, bro?
Housekeeping?
No. That's it.
Okay.
Stay
Sorry.
safe, guys. See
Sorry.
you Friday.
I was going through the thing. Yeah. Sorry. And Juju, I'm here. Hit me up, bro. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll come to John Jay. We'll have.
Oh yeah. Speaking of John, where was all these people that said they wanted to visit me? Joe 14%, Juju. I mean, they knew exactly where I was. Nobody came to visit. I don't know.
The only one I know for sure that'll visit me is Nolan, and I'm not telling him where I am. Anyone else? Nolan, but I'm close to you, bro. So I just want to let you know. I know where you are, but you ain't gonna find me.
I want to meet up with Nolan this Staten Island Mall.
Good luck. Nah, I'm only kidding. Nolan was good today. He gave a super chat, and he didn't even.
Oh, thank you, brother.
He didn't even mention Stephen Lee today. So today's accomplishment.
Hey,
all right, peoples. Well, we thank him for being here, and the rest of you guys. Thanks for weighing in, even you, Juju. But seriously, I'm here for a month, so hit me up. I'd like to come chat with you. So, all right, peoples. Finest Unfiltered. We'll be at you at 10-4 Tavern tomorrow night, 7:05 p.m. We'll be back on Wednesday, and so will the Executive Perspective. See you guys then.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime. But nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?